Good morning. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Howdy, friends.
Howdy, friends. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Talking about comic books. Mars, how are you doing? It's been a couple weeks.
It has been a couple weeks,
You've got a new friend on the stream.
we have a new co-host.
New co-host.
This is Freya.
Oh,
She's our
everyone
new
say hi, Freya.
co-host. So 2 weeks ago, we decided to finally add a new member to our family. And this little baby walked right up and picked us. So she is officially here to stay. She is extremely friendly, extremely cuddly. So I would not be surprised if she starts making more appearances on the show.
Oh, she's so sweet. I know you were telling me the story. Tell it, please. Tell the story of
Tell the adoption story.
The adoption story, because it melts my heart.
So I lost my cats 3 years ago, and it was a very, very hard and emotional time for me. And I wasn't sure if I was ready for another one, but it was one of those cases of we gotta rip off the Band-Aid, because I was never going to be ready, and it just needed to be, thrust into my lap. So my partner and I, Labor Day weekend was like perfect time. We have 3 days from home. We can adjust the cats. Let's go look. We don't have to pick anyone, but let's go look. So we go, and the lady, asks us our story. She takes us into a room with these kittens, and I'm like, yeah, kittens are cute, but I wasn't feeling anything. And I didn't want to just take someone home for the sake of taking someone home. So she's like, okay, well, let's go look at another cat that I have for you. And immediately I was like, no, because I could see her picture hanging on the wall and she looked exactly like my Bubby. And I'm like, I don't want a cat that looks like him. I can't do it. Until this little angel walks right up to me, sits down in front of me, and starts pawing my lap. And I'm like, all right, I guess it's time to take you home. Not only that, but her and Bubba have the same exact marking missing from their left ear, which to me is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So she's been home for 2 weeks now. She's extremely cuddly, extremely lovable. She wants to be at our sides pretty much at all times. And it's great. It's fantastic.
I love that. I love that so much. When you said that, she just came up, I'm like, yeah.
They always talk about cats choosing you, and granted, yeah. my first cat was very similar, but it was kind of different because he was part of a litter with another cat that we had gotten, and he just wanted to cuddle with me. But the fact that this cat, out of a room of cats, came straight up to me and sat in front of me and basically said, I want to take you home, or I want you to take me home. It's like, not only that, but somebody had already taken her back. They had adopted her and taken her back because apparently their 2-year-old terrorized her.
Oh,
and it's fine
because more about the 2-year-old, right?
It's fine because now she's mine, and now she gets spoiled every day.
Oh, that's excellent. It's funny because my cat Luna, who is he's right here, being a big loaf. He's pretty similar. He needs to be by my side at all times. Whether I'm brushing my teeth, whether I'm sitting somewhere, he wants to hang out. And he just my mom was apparently sitting outside, and he just walked right up to her, and he was apparently this big, could fit into her hands. And now he's this huge 30-pound cat who is just and apparently, okay, he's getting up a little bit, so I'm gonna bother him. But this is him. Apparently, he's a Turkish Angora, which are $1,000 cats. But he is just my little special garbage cat guy. I love him.
Little special garbage cat.
Yeah. Okay. Get down, bud. So, anyways, that's the cat portion of the show.
That's the cat portion of the show. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more cat portions.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if at one point she doesn't shut off my entire system. Because I was working from home Friday, and at one point she hopped on my desk and was crawling across my keyboard, and I was in the middle of a call, and my entire system shut down. And I got a call from my boss being like, hey, what happened? I saw you just went offline. I'm like, yeah. And I showed him a picture of the cat, and he's like, got it. Understandable.
Cat. Yes. System outage due to cats. Yes.
Due to cats.
Yep. Well, it's been a couple weeks, and I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. So if you're here, if you're watching, please say hi. Please say howdy. We want to say hi to you because we've missed y'all.
We have missed y'all. It's crazy. Like you said, it's been 3 weeks, but it feels like it's been literally years.
Yeah. There was
It's
a moment
weird.
like backstage where I'm like, do I know what I'm doing here? So we'll see. Keep watching to see if Jennifer finds out if she knows what she's doing or not. Alrighty. So hello to our friend Travis. Casually Comics is now in session. Hello, Niall. Hello, everyone. Our friend Unruly. How are you doing, my friend?
Hold on. Speaking
Oh,
of
yeah.
Unruly.
Yep.
Speaking of Unruly, so Unruly sent me this crazy ass package. Like, had no idea what was going on. I have those like what's the word I'm looking for? I have that like informed delivery from USPS where they tell me when packages are coming, and it told us we had a package coming, and I thought my partner just ordered another like RPG off Kickstarter, as they do. I mean, fully support that. And I get a message from Unruly being like, "Yo, you got a package incoming," and I'm like, "Okay, so it's from you and it's for me." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right." So I get the package. And it's the comic book community. I'm like, all right, Unruly's gonna send me some comics. I'm excited. I like comics. No, fucking Unruly, and I don't know how well the camera's gonna pick this up, sends me a whole ass comic page from Green Arrow. And the look on my face when I fucking open this, let me see if I can get a little.
I'm gonna do this really quick. I'm gonna take away this. Can I hide?
Can we
then
full
I'm
screen?
gonna. Yeah.
Can we full screen?
Yep.
So it's a whole ass comic page for Green Arrow, and like I told Unruly this, I don't fucking own any original comic book art. I would love to own comic book art, but it's just not in my wheelhouse at the moment and has not been. So the fact that A, Unruly gifted this to me is insane. The fact that B, it's Green Arrow is insane. And the fact that C, it's an original comic book page is even more insane. So Unruly, thank you so much. I haven't had time to show it off to everybody, and I figured this would be the perfect place to do it.
Oh, that is so cool. Unruly is such an incredible person. Absolutely so much fun to chat with. And Unruly is we're doing a like Sandman read through over on JP Budget Comics Collecting. So look out for that because it's really, really cool to talk to Unruly with that. So very, very cool. Let me see here. Hello to our friend Carrie. I'm still shopping, but I'll be listening while in my car until I get home. Okay. I hope we provide entertainment. Please.
That's my favorite thing. I know John's Comics with Kids tells us all the time where he's like, I'm listening, but I'm grocery shopping. And I'm like, listen, if you're taking me as part of your daily Sunday routine, that's such a fucking honor. You have no idea.
Yeah. Can you get me some groceries as well? I will take a 12-pack of ramen, please.
Yes, please.
Let's see who else we've got here. Hello, Victoria. Hello. And John showing some love. We've all missed you a bunch. Thank you for blessing us with your goddessly presence on this holy day. I thought you were saying godlessly presence, which
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then hello to our friend Scott. I wasn't sure if you were going to there's a Portland zine thing happening this weekend. I wasn't sure if you were going to be presenting or just there as like a person, a spectator. Let's see here. Aggressively relaxing. Hello, cleaning my basement. Just got awesome thanks to the show being on. Yes. Let's clean those basements. Get that dust out of there. I don't know. What's in basements? Mopping?
Hopefully comics.
Yeah. Oh, and hello, Stapled Spine. So they are also at the Portland Zine thing this weekend. I know that you are exhibiting, so I'm hoping to get there later today if I can. So that'd be really cool to say hello to you again. And our friend Digger Jim. Hi, chat and ladies. Let's see. Did I miss anyone? Cool. Anyways, so thank you everyone for being here. We start off if you're new to the Casually Comics thing. We start off with some news, and we typically do like comic book news, what's been going on in in this land.
Man. So we're gonna start off with some violence. It's been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think that we should start off with some violence, as we normally get into on this show. So a couple weeks ago, Jason Pearson, who apparently is a comic book artist. I've personally never heard of them for being, in comics and comic book journalism.
And having paid their dues.
So Jason Pearson was commenting on Facebook, specifically targeting Afua Richardson, who is a proclaimed and beloved artist.
Like, we actually
comics,
know who Afua Richardson is.
I actually know Afua Richardson. I don't know who Jason Pearson is, but he was basically talking mad shit about how she was just another pretty face in comics, and that the only reason why she continued to get work is because she's pretty, and that unlike a lot of other artists, she hasn't paid her dues and hasn't made her way up the ladders like a lot of other people did. And you know what? That is some shit coming from a man who, again, as we established, I've never even fucking heard of until this altercation. But B apparently has Kickstarters that are outstanding by 7 years and have been undelivered for 7 fucking years. So who's paying dues now? And to make matters worse, Gail Simone dragged this man through the streets in terms of who needs to pay dues. And I will say this, Jason Pearson did try to put up a valiant effort against Gail Simone. And again, tried pulling the, you only got work because at the time you were a loudmouth woman in comics and it was the only way to shut you up, yada, yada, yada.
Which, she's doing better than you, my friend.
She's doing better than you. And it's like, you've got to have some balls to go against Gail Simone, knowing damn well that you are not going to win.
Yeah. To me, the funniest thing is that, that's the beauty of almost doing comics and even what we do today. I literally started doing this a couple years ago, just hitting live on my phone on my iPhone 8 Plus, and it's the barrier to entry is much lower. So but it is what it is. But at the same time, the barrier to entry back then for mediocre white dudes was so fucking low. And then even now, the lower barrier of entry for very, very skilled women is higher than what it was for mediocre white dudes then. And it's once again, I know who Afua Richardson is. I don't know who Pearson is until this happened. So apparently you got to run your mouth for people
it's just funny because it's if somebody of a name said this, not saying that I agree with the comments made, but at least you have some credibility to stand on. If somebody not that he would ever say this, but Scott Snyder came out and said something like this. Brian Azzarello came out and said something like this. You know what I mean? Those are people that pull readers, that pull names, and
for some reason they're still pulling readers.
I don't know. It's weird. But that's what that went. But you know what? The violence continues because we are on week 4 of She-Hulk. No, we're on week 5. Week 4? Week 5? I don't know. I've lost track because I love it so much. But either way, we're on week 4 or maybe week 5 of She-Hulk.
I've done multiple rewatches of She-Hulk.
And the internet is so mad for no reason. Listen here. I'm here to listen. I've been wanting to talk about this since it happened. We have to talk about episode 3. We need to talk about Megan Thee Stallion entering the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how at this point she is the strongest character. Fuck Stan Lee, fuck the Watchers, fuck Captain America. It's Megan Thee Stallion.
It is.
Where's the Megan Thee Stallion Funko Pop from She-Hulk?
Yes, 100%. I need one of those 2 packs where you get She-Hulk really big and then Megan Thee Stallion a little bit
normal
smaller,
sized,
doing a little twerk.
Sized.
It's the way that the internet moves is it just moves so fast that on day does it come out? Thursday?
Yeah.
Before I even get a chance to watch it, I already the best parts have been spoiled. But I was not ready to see the after clip on episode 3 where we see glorious She-Hulk and glorious Megan Thee Stallion twerking. But my favorite part of it is these probably the same people who are complaining about Afua Richardson complaining about this and like, this should be a kids show. Like, Stan Lee would be rolling in his grave. I just want to tell y'all, Stan Lee created She-Hulk. He only did like one issue really and didn't do much more. He created Stripperella. Do you really think Stan Lee would give a shit? Like,
I was hoping you would bring that up because it's true. Like, he created Stripperella. Not only that, but you have people that are like, oh, She-Hulk dancing, that's just out of character. To which I say, A, have you ever read a She-Hulk comic? B, these are the same fucking fanboys that were fucking gagging at the mouth because Baron Zemo was doing his little white boy dance through the club, that was gagging at the mouth because Star-Lord was doing his little dance, which, by the way, that's how he fucking defeats his villain, is with a fucking dance-off, but you're mad at She-Hulk shaking her ass.
To go back to Star-Lord, when we're introduced to him in Guardians of the Galaxy, we literally see him like he's doing his little dance. It's really cute. Like, I love that part. And then you literally see him going back to his ship to a woman that he had like a one-night stand with. So please don't complain about She-Hulk.
It's double standards.
It is double standards.
Double standards.
I should be used to it by now in the real world, and certainly in nerdity. I don't know.
I think the moral of the story is She-Hulk is probably the greatest thing that the MCU has given us, probably in a long time, if not ever. I know I've said this with like Moon Knight. I said it with Hawkeye. This is my favorite MCU show. And that might even be comparing WandaVision, although WandaVision, I feel like they're two different things. I have to like split them apart. One is a sitcom comedy. The other one is like a serious drama. But She-Hulk is just fun. And I love it so much. And to John's comment about Megan Thee Stallion as an inappropriate icon for kids, I mean, listen, the woman's great. She's listen, she has my heart, body, soul, you name it. But she knows the audience that she's working with. So she's going to tone it down. You know what I mean? Like, Megan Thee Stallion's not going to show up on fucking Sesame Street as a guest character wearing the clothes that she would wear while she's performing at Coachella. She's not fucking stupid.
Well, what I would also say is that the way the kids have internet today, they've seen worse. And
it's true.
I assure you, probably already know who Megan Thee Stallion is. And they already know. They know who Megan Thee Stallion is, and they're already practicing those dance moves when you're not looking. Like, I know I've said this before. Like, when I was like 11, 12 years old, I was on the internet going to rotten.com watching people die on the internet. If I find out Megan Thee Stallion like twerks, is it like any of those things as like a 13-year-old, I don't know. The kids are going to
be fine.
Okay. The kids are going to be okay. The adults, however, not so much. What other news do we have?
Since we're on the topic of like MCU property shows and things like that, D23 happened last weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, it's essentially a Comic-Con specifically for Disney where they, announce things for Marvel, Marvel, Disney, and of course Star Wars. And there was a big rumor that they were finally going to announce the casting for the Fantastic Four, which I was like, oh, thank God we can stop getting these generic ass fan casts. But no, we didn't get any sort of casting news for the Fantastic Four. And at this point, I really hope that we don't. Like, I hope that until the Fantastic Four comes out, I hope that like all the posters are just like silhouettes of the characters, and like the trailer is just extremely vague because we all know who the Fantastic Four is. Yeah. We don't even really need a trailer for that, and so we don't know who's playing them until we're in the fucking theater. I just think that would be great. But we did get some really cool announcements. The first one being Werewolf by Night, which is supposed to be a mini series that's entirely black and white. It's set as like a comedy horror type thing. And it features the fucking appearance of Man-Thing and Elsa Bloodstone, which I'm like, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me in a box, Marvel. Congratulations. Like, you're giving me something spooky during Halloween but it's also going to be kind of fun and kind of non-serious. So I'm like, okay, you got me even more. And then you're going to throw one of my favorite Marvel characters and one of the characters that I don't know enough about, but I appreciate enough.
I feel a little bit bitter towards Man Thing because I mean, anyways, my true love is with Swamp Thing.
The
But
Swamp Thing. They're the same character. It's
they
fine.
basically are, and they were literally created within a month of each other by the same exact creative team.
Wait, really?
Yes.
So you're telling me, oh my God, you learn something new every day. So Man Thing and Swamp Thing were created within a month of each other by the same creative
published
team.
within a month of each other.
That's insane, because I always thought, so I think we've talked about it before, when Bucky Barnes became the Winter Soldier and Jason Todd became Red Hood, and these are two characters with two extremely similar origin stories. They go from being the spunky sidekick who dies only to be resurrected as this sort of like vigilante. Those characters were introduced within a month of each other. And it was like, all right, they were definitely like Judd Winnick and Ed Brubaker were definitely on the phone talking to each other about these characters.
Yeah.
But the fact that Swamp Thing and Man Thing are created by the same creative team within a month,
let me like double, triple check my facts here, but I'm like 99% sure.
Man, I fucking love if this is true. I love comics. Comics are fascinating.
May 1971. Okay, sorry. Maybe a little bit, not the same creative team, but May of 1971, and then I know Swamp Thing was 71, but I don't know the exact.
But even if it's within the same year, that's still insanity to me.
Yeah, July 1971. So technically
within 2 months.
First, but 2 months, yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. Comics are fantastic, y'all. But we got Werewolf by Night, and that's set to debut in October. We also finally got the first trailer for the long-anticipated Secret Invasion, which...
It doesn't even look like a Marvel movie, but I love it.
I don't like things like that. I feel like Secret Invasion is going to do very well to the mainstream audience because it plays off as like your average spy espionage, like Law and Order-esque type show. And again, that's not my vibe, but I think the mainstream audience will really, really like it. And, it's going to be interesting to see how they play up this big event like Secret Invasion, because it seems like they're scaling it down to the extreme.
But I think that they're hiding obviously, I think that they're hiding something from us, and they're not showing us. They're showing us enough where we can go in and try to like find all the Easter eggs and stuff. But I think that we're going to be pretty shocked when we get into it. And Secret Invasion it's a movie, right? Like it's not a show.
I don't think it's a movie. I thought it was a TV show.
Oh, I'm ready.
Unless it's a made for Disney Plus movie, which I could easily see. I don't know. Interesting.
Okay, television miniseries.
Okay.
Yes. I think I'm ready for more movies. I'm ready for more Marvel movies. I miss that theater experience. I miss, I think about the end of, what was it, Avengers Infinity War, where like at the end, I don't know, I miss those moments in the theater.
Miss those moments. Well, that's okay, because you're going to have your movie theater moment, because I think this one's a movie, but the one that I'm most excited for, the announcement we finally got, is Thunderbolts, which... as the closest that I'm going to get to a Marvel Suicide Squad, let me be honest with you. It's the closest I'm going to get to a villain team. And half of them aren't even fucking villains, but it's fine. So Marvel Thunderbolts, we finally were given the team behind it. And it's going to feature Ghost. It's going to feature Madam Hydra, Yelena Belova, Red Guardian, who I'm like, all right, listen, bring me Papa Bear. I'm very excited for Papa Bear's return. Not only that, but he's on a team. He's on a team with his adopted daughter. Like, yeah, all right, I'm here. Let's do this. Is he going to probably die? Probably, and I'm not ready for it. But we also have U.S. Agent and Taskmaster, and it's like kind of exciting. I know a lot of people are like disappointed by this lineup because they're talking about like underrated villains who were wronged and weren't, great, like Taskmaster. And I'm like, listen, I really enjoyed Taskmaster, and you're complaining that the original property that they showed up in wronged them, but yet they're being brought in again at the chance for, I guess, some sort of redemption in your eyes, and yet you're mad about that. It doesn't make any sense.
What I want to point to, anyone who is upset that like the Thunderbolt like lineup, all I have to say is Guardians of the Galaxy. Like what in like
Remember that announcement? Remember when everybody was like, who?
like who is this? Who are these? Basically like, because Guardians of the Galaxy really in the Marvel universe is like C-list people anyways.
Wait, you're calling Guardians of the Galaxy C-list?
I'm saying that as characters in the Marvel universe before the movie,
No,
they
weren't
were
even
all C-list characters.
No, they weren't even C-list. I would put them at like D-list characters. Like,
okay,
I would put them lower.
Maybe halfway, C- characters. So they were basically unknown characters in the Marvel universe,
and now they're household names.
And now exactly. So like not just even like movie wise, but in the comics too. I think that they've done really well in the comics. But so I think that I hope that Marvel does the same thing with Thunderbolts and makes it fun. I think that was the turning point where Marvel movies started getting really fun.
Like weird too.
Yeah. So who do you know who's like directing it? Because I think a lot of that Guardians of the Galaxy feeling had to do with James Gunn. But I don't know if he would be doing
Don't even
Thunderbolts.
know. Jake Schreier. I don't know who that is.
Jake Schreier. You better make me laugh. If you don't,
and apparently, people might not be happy with this one, but apparently the writer of Black Widow is penning the script, which is good for me because I liked that movie a lot.
I hated that movie so much.
How did we come out as opposite? I was the one that was like, I don't want to see this dumb movie, and in the first 10 minutes, I'm like, this movie ruined my life, and then by the end of it, I'm like, this might be in my top 5 favorite Marvel movies.
Oh my God. It's funny. I feel like we do, even on some of the more recent movies, we're a little bit like on either side of that, but we'll see. I'll end up hating it. You'll end up loving it, or vice versa.
It's got David Harbour in it. I'm going to love it regardless. It'll be fine. But that's the list. We only I lied. We have one last bit of comic news, and this one's actually related to comics. So DC Comics released their solicitations, meaning they released everything that they're releasing for the month of December, because they always announce things about 4 months in advance to get you prepped, to get you ready for final order cutoff, and to pre-order those books. They announced that 33 of the titles that they would be releasing are Batman or Batman adjacent.
And when you say Batman adjacent, you mean
titles that he's featuring in. So like Batman Urban Legends, Batman the audio files, things like that. I don't think that they were counting books like Nightwing and Harley Quinn and Batgirls, which they are Batman adjacent, but they're technically their own characters. But with 33 titles being given to the Batman himself, that means that 40%, almost half, of everything DC Comics is putting out right now belongs to Batman. And I feel like I've been preaching this since we've started this show. The cult of Batman, it's no longer a joke. It needs to fucking end. There are so many fucking characters that at this point do not have ongoings or even miniseries. Like, I'll scrape the bottom of the barrel and I'll accept a fucking miniseries. Like, hello, Green Arrow doesn't have a series. The Hawks don't have a series. Like, it's ridiculous.
And I think that's one thing. I like DC and I like Marvel for completely different reasons.
Aquaman doesn't have a fucking series, y'all.
Well, Aquaman did have one.
So did Green Arrow, but that was like 3 years ago.
Aquaman had one this year.
But they don't have one currently. And as of December, they're not going to have one. So that's about 6 months without an Aqua title. It's fucking bizarre that you have characters that are the forefront of your Justice League.
Yeah.
And don't have their own series.
I feel like
it makes sense.
At this point, I don't think that I don't want to sound like one of those gatekeepers, but I really feel like at this point, DC doesn't know what it's doing. Like, it doesn't know what to do with some of its really good characters. But I also feel like it doesn't know what it's doing with Batman either. And it's just literally throwing all the spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks. But
and it's frustrating because it felt like we saw this kind of decline about a year and a half ago. And then
right
with
after
Future State, and then with Future State, we kind of saw it on the rise again. We saw books getting, or characters getting series and getting books and getting miniseries. We saw a lot of really cool, interesting stuff coming out the gate. But then we've now reverted back to, I hate to say this, but we've reverted back to trash. And I'm over it and I'm tired of it. And, you know, the more and more that DC does this, and by extension, Marvel, I feel like does something similar with its spider titles. But the more that the big two does this, the more it just pushes me over to indie comics. Because I'll be honest, the majority of what I read now feels like indie.
Yeah.
And I feel like I enjoy independent books way more than I do anything from the big two. I mean, you have those like stickouts like Nightwing and Poison Ivy, you know, that are really, really great. But like I said, the majority of it is trash.
Yeah. I've always, like, even from the start, even though I got my start with like DC and Vertigo and those like Sandman, Watchmen, Batman Long Halloween, like those were like some of the first comics that I read, and I love them. I feel like I've always been a much more indie person, and I tolerate DC because out of this sense of, I feel this sense of like either I have to be reading it or I don't know what it is, but
it feels like DC doesn't want to take the risk. They know that Batman sells by name and by name only, and so they don't want to take the risk on any other characters that maybe won't bring in the money that Batman will.
Yeah, but I assure you, give me a good Wonder Girl story. Give me a good new. I mean, I've been liking the Nubia stuff, but for the love of God, make it consistent.
Yeah, because she's only been getting miniseries and one shots.
Wonder Girl got an annual, and it was all right, but yeah.
I have things to say about that, but we'll talk about that soon enough.
Talk about that later
actually, maybe it is that time. Maybe it's the comic portion of the show. So we have 3 goddamn weeks of comics to talk about. It's kind of insane. 3 weeks worth of comics. As always, we always put it out to our lovely chat on what you guys want us to start talking about first. So chat, are we talking about indie comics? Are we talking about DC comics? Or are we talking about Marvel comics first? You decide.
This is what 3 weeks looks like. Did I read all of these? Some of them no.
Don't lie to them. You can lie to me, but don't lie to them.
Some of them I read halfway. Some of them I didn't read at all. Some of these are variant covers. I've been good with variant covers.
I have a book this week that I'm going to get extremely violent about, and I'm really excited to talk about that book because it's a book that you didn't read, and I've kind of been very, very cryptic about what it's about, why I hate it, and I'm kind of excited to just tell you.
I can't wait. Not to say that I ever want you to hate a book, but I kind of love it when you hate a book.
I get very passionate when I hate a book.
You do. It gets me going. It gets my gears going when you hate a book. I'm like yes.
Part of me wants to know if like a creator has ever like stepped in on me just absolutely railing the shit out of their book.
Speaking of which, I want to listen, chat. Listen, all 21 of you viewers right now. I want to know which one of you motherfuckers told Mark Millar. Which one of you blabbed to us to Mark Millar? Because I get a text from you like a week ago.
I was gonna say, can we give some context to this conversation? So
we need to go all the way back to the beginning.
We gotta go back to the beginning. So I sent Jen a text because I'm literally walking into work. I'm walking up the stairs to my building, and there's a lot of stairs to get up to my building. But I'm on Twitter as I'm walking up the stairs, and I shit you not, the notification I got nearly made me drop my phone down the stairwell. Because I get a tweet that says, the Millarverse, or the Mark Millarverse, is now following you. And it was following the show's Twitter. And I click on it, I'm like, this is probably like a fan Twitter, no big deal. Nope, it's got a couple 100,000 followers. It's got the blue check mark. It is the official Mark Millar universe, his whole property network that he has. It is the official Twitter, and I'm like, fuck.
But so here's why would it just be fucking hilarious that that Twitter account follows our show, Mars?
They know about the fart smelling. If you're new to the show, welcome to the long-running joke that Mark Millar likes the smell of his own farts. I don't remember when I said this.
Or you accused.
I did. I'll take full blame for that one. I accused Mark Millar that he likes the smell of his own farts because everything he just has. And who knows? Maybe Mark. If anybody's ever met Mark Millar, please let me know. Because part of me is like, what if he's like the most sweetest cinnamon roll on the face of the planet? But the man gives off like Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones likes the fucking pretentious ass self of his own self. Like, there's something about that man that is just pretentious as fuck. And I don't want to say it rubs me the wrong way, but it makes me very fucking uncomfortable. So I accused him of being a fart smeller, and I stand by that, and I will continue to stand by that because there's literally, I think, one fucking book by him that I'm like, oh, I really, really like this book. And I bet you $1 million because I have not read that book in at least 6 or 7 years. If I went back and read that book, which, you know what, I might do tonight.
Oh, goodness. I was going to say, please.
I might not like it.
Because I've done that to books that I thought I loved. Like, I will tell you, 2 years ago, I went back and reread Black Science and Low by Rick Remender, thinking I loved those books. I went back and I had to like question my whole existence. And I'm like, I fucking hate Rick Remender's writing. I'm not sure the person is much better. And I've never met them, so I can't tell you. I haven't heard very many good things about this person from people. But anyways,
well, that'll be my homework tonight. I'm pretty sure that I own the trade. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read all of Empress, which was a book that he published with Stuart Emmerlin back with the Marvel Comics imprint Icon. And it was like this futuristic Mad Max Fury Road type book.
But I thought it was like republished by Image.
It might have been, but the trade that I have is still published by Icon.
Okay.
So who knows? It's part of that whole weird Millar verse. It's fine.
So anyways, we know that one of y'all dirty, nasty people told on us to Mark Millar, and now he knows, and we know, and Mark Millar, I'm sure you're following because now you're getting all of our tweet. I know you specifically get notified about our tweets and going live to our show, so we know you're watching. I think you need to come defend yourself.
Hopefully it's as good as I remember, Scott. Scott says he's reading Empress right now, so
shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back and read it.
I'll pull it off the shelf as well if I can find it.
We're all gonna have a buddy read, and we're gonna see if Mark Millar likes the smell of his own farts. So nobody voted on what we are reading. So I guess it's winner's pick. Or I guess it's co-host pick. So what do you want to talk about first, Jen? Are there any books that stuck out to you this week that you have to talk about, good or bad?
Yeah. I know this is kind of weird. Oh man.
Now she's got to find it.
Well, it's an indie book. And let me see here. So this is just my indie stack right here from 3 weeks. You're like, it's right here on the top. So one of the books that stuck out to me because I really, 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 really enjoyed it is 10,000 Black Feathers. It's part of the Bone Orchard mythos by Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and Dave Stewart.
Which is the same creative team behind the Gideon Falls.
Gideon Falls.
And Old Man Logan, I think.
And was it Primordial?
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed. So anyways, this is like this whole mythos. There was another like hardcover that they came out with recently that I started reading, didn't finish. I still really liked it though. I can't tell how they are all linked together in this like Bone Orchard mythos, but it was really, really good. It's about this young woman who she ends up like going back to her town that she grew up in and to a friend. Anyways, I really liked it. It was creepy and it was kooky, altogether spooky. Is that what I'm? Anyways, I really liked it. There's a lot of like nerd just like little like nerd things. Like she's talking to her friend, their children. This is a flashback. Their children, she's talking to her friend, and she's like, "Oh, you like reading?" And she like goes over to her house, and she's like, "You've got all the Dune books," and it's just.
And that's why Jen liked this book, because it referenced Dune.
Because it referenced Dune. And so anyways, I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing this friendship. It gets a little bit spooky. There's some creepy moments. So I liked it a lot.
I know that's like, I completely missed out on that one. I don't know how. There was just when you have 3 weeks of comics to read through, there were so many books that I was like looking through our list and I'm like, damn, I forgot that one and I forgot this one, and that missed the cut. So since we're speaking of books, and we're speaking of spooky books, and it seems that we're on an indie ride, Shock Shop from Aftershock Comics came out this week, last week,
What book was
last
it?
week. Shock Shop.
I think I missed that
And
one.
this was a Cullen Bunn title published by Aftershock. So I saw the Cullen Bunn name and I'm like, all right, Cullen Bunn, let's get out our dartboard, because, you know, Cullen Bunn writes so many books a month. It feels like they all kind of blend together and they all feel the same. And I was a little worried about it. This one was actually surprisingly good.
Please don't tell me that, because I really
actually kind of enjoyed Shock Shop.
I really want to like Cullen Bunn, and I've liked books by him before, but I always feel like he, as a horror writer, you need to like push a button. You need to push the boundaries, and I feel like his books never do that for me. How did this one do that?
I'm being told that it's actually Dark Horse, not Aftershock. So
Okay.
My corrections. There was a lot of books this week that I was like, I thought it was this, and it was actually Dark Horse. So it's not the first time. So Shock Shop
would know.
Shock Shop is an anthology series, and I think that that's why it worked, is because Cullen Bunn is able to use horror and get right to the point without drawing it out. So it kind of reminds me of like Tales from the Crypt, because it's about this woman who works or owns in this like haunted comic book shop, and she's got these haunted comic stories that she's kind of telling the reader, and it's really cool because A, she's super cute and I would die for her, even though she'd probably kill me in my sleep. That's fine. But
that's the appeal. If you don't think your girl is going to murder you in your sleep,
then what's the point? But B, I really like the whole like Tales from the Crypt like sort of style, where you have like this narrator who's like this otherworldly being who transcends through time. We saw something similar with AWA's Hotel, where, you know, we had this like otherworldly being who showed up in all the stories and was kind of our narrator. But this has 2 different stories in it that I thought were really, really interesting. The first being, you know, there's a group of friends that are in the woods. They're going on this camping hiking trip in an attempt to help this straight couple save their marriage, to which begs the question, straight people, are you okay? But then things kind of go bump in the night, and we get like this introduction of like really cool body horror, which I thought was really, really cool. But then it cuts right when it starts to get interesting, because it's a short story. And I feel like if this was a full-size series where it had to pan out across 36 pages, it would be very boring. But because it was only about a quarter of the book, it kept me engaged. It kept me interested. The same goes for the second story. It's about this father who went through a messy divorce. Again, straight people, you good. But he went through a messy divorce. He has small children, and he's recently moved out of his apartment and bought a whole house for his children. And he starts to see things go bump in the night with the house, and like things are getting picked up and cleaned. You know, he wakes up the next morning and all of his furniture is magically unpacked. You know, his kids come over for the first time, and these ghostly spirits are making like pancakes and eggs for the kids. And it's like really cool because we get this glimpse at the very end where it's like these grotesque demons that can't be seen, that are the quote unquote caretakers and housekeepers of the house.
But they can't see them.
And they think that they're friendly. And I'm like, You got me interested. So here's my pitch. Is Cullen Bunn actually decent at writing horror when he's given like a small constraint? Like, is it the padding that's killing Cullen Bunn stories?
Maybe that's what it is, because all of the Cullen Bunn stories that I can think of recently start off really, really strong, and then somewhere along the way get really muddied, and then just like fizzle out. Like they don't end with a bang either. And like by issue 5, I'm like, I'm done.
You're bored.
So I did realize I did buy this one. One thing that is kind of interesting is that it is, you start reading it and then it gets to the next one.
And it's like a whole new cover.
And then it's a whole new cover. You have to flip it around. So like it like turns around on you.
And one of the things I really liked, because the artist on this book is Layla Lays.
On the first story or the second?
I think she does both.
No, Danny Luckert does.
Okay, Danny Luckert does the other one. So one of the things I really thought, and this is just my dumb comic brain that I really, really love, is, you know, we get the introduction of the Crypt Keeper comic book shop employee lady. And it's the first page, I think, to that other story that you were showing. So on the first page, you can see a comic rack with a bunch of comics kind of displayed. And it's a bunch of comics by Cullen Bunn, by Layla Lays, and by Danny Luckert. And I just thought, like, you get like Harrow Country, you get Manor Black, and I just thought that was like really, really cute. And I really love when like comic creators do this, because we've seen it happen a couple times. Chip Zdarsky's done it with his books. I think Donny Cates has done it with his books. I just really like these kind of like meta vibes to comics, where like if you actively read books the way that we do, then you appreciate it so much more. But like to the average comic fan, they're like, oh my God, it's just pretty pictures. It's fine. I don't know. I really like this book. I was expecting not to, because looking at it and then realizing it was by Cullen Bunn, I'm like, oh, here we go, another average horror title. But it was pretty decent. I liked it.
I kind of hate myself because I did buy it and I didn't read it. Now it's one of those, I should just know, if I buy a book and don't read it and then you love it, I should know that I should just go ahead and read it.
You should know you should read it. So what else did you read?
Let's see here.
What's the first one right off the top? What you got?
Oh God. Okay, so I'm afraid for the book underneath this one, but Samurai Doggy.
So I didn't like this issue as much as I liked the first one.
I was like, so the first issue I really, really loved.
There was no doggy in this one.
It puts you right into the world with Samurai Doggy, and it's really cool. And then this entire second issue, for the most part, is in this world, but there's no Samurai Doggy until like the very end, like literally the last 2 pages. Yeah. And so I was like, wait, is this even the same story? It was still really good. It's setting up, like, spoiler alert, it sets up this battle between the Samurai Doggy and this other character who's got a really cool like design, I think. But
I just love the whole concept of Samurai Doggy, because we've seen a book similar to it before with Good Boy, where it's this anthropomorphic dog who
John Wick
is like John Wick, and we're introduced to this character in the first issue, and it's a really great backstory where, you know, he was in a small litter and somebody came, injured him, and took his brothers and sisters and killed his mother, and now he's out for vengeance. He's out to save his brothers and sisters, and he's just this literal samurai. And like you said, the world building was really, really interesting, and it was engaging, and the dialogue when Samurai Doggy was there was really fun. And I absolutely love this artwork because it reminds me a lot of Peach Momoko.
Oh, yeah.
It gives me like Peach Momoko vibes, where it's very like manga inspired while still feeling very Western. And I enjoyed this book, but like you said, this issue was a disappointment. I think that was from the lack of the doggo.
Yeah, I need more. Show me the doggy.
I need more doggy. So I think I'm gonna read at least one more issue. If I don't get more doggo, then it's off to the pound.
Yeah,
that was a bad pun. I apologize.
That was an excellent pun.
That was a bad pun.
I really think that if you like this one, what is it? Little Red Rogue.
Little Red Rodin.
Yes, if you like this, please, please read Little Red Ronin because it's cute. It's adorable. Peach Momoko vibes. I've got another book on
What
the
you got?
top. I'm just going to grab the one on the top. And I already told you about this one. Revealer, which is, it tells you right on the front, movie tie-in.
But you read it anyway, even though you didn't watch the movie.
I read it, even though I didn't watch the movie. And I read it because I loved the artwork in the beginning, because it shows you like this like vintage, like it looks like EC horror, like pre-code horror.
That's the thing.
type
I'm
stuff.
so mad about that book because when Volt announced that book, I was like, yeah, so excited. It's cute. It's horror. I'm here for it. And then they were like, it's a movie tie-in to a Shudder original. And I'm like,
And I,
what?
I've got Shudder, so maybe I just need to go and like watch whatever fucking movie this is tied in with. But like, the thing that I hate about it is there's this moment where, and this is where I even text you and I'm like, I just need to like stop reading Tim Seeley books, because even though I think Tim Seeley could be he's a decent writer sometimes, I just don't think that he needs to be writing women. Like, he's obviously writing women from this like male gaze point of view. Like, there's this moment where there's this girl and she's like exercising, and this little kid, like maybe it's her brother or someone, comes up and is like, why are you dancing like a slut? I don't know. And I'm just like, I don't know. Oh, no, he says, are you a sexual deviant? And it's like, even though Tim Seeley shows like what could really be like cool female characters, he still manages to like slut shame them in a way.
Yeah.
That it's like, you're creating these characters to be this desirable thing, and you still manage to shame them for being the way that you created them. I don't think I can read books written by Tim Seeley with female main characters. They just
makes sense.
The artwork was beautiful, though. I really enjoyed the artwork a lot.
I think Tim Seeley is a man that is out of his prime, because I remember like 5-10 years ago, I was reading books by Tim Seeley, and at one point I was like, oh, I read a lot of stuff by Tim Seeley, and it was one of those, I'll read anything Tim Seeley's writing. But then I hit a point, and I think it was with Volt Comics Money Shot, where I was like, this ain't it anymore. And a lot of what he wrote felt very outdated.
Yes, and I have an issue with Money Shot. Maybe it has gotten better since. I've only read the first volume of Money Shot, but I love the premise of it, because it's like this scientific research group goes and they need money for their science things. So they're like, oh, let's film ourselves having sex with aliens to like get the money. Cool. I should love that idea. Fuck all the monsters. Fuck all the aliens. 100% that should be my jam. But then it's like just a little bit like non-consensual with the aliens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it gets better. Like, I know our friend Josue loves Money Shot, but I can't get past that. And I feel like Money Shot should be the book that I love the most, and I don't. I should love like Tim Seeley, but I don't.
You don't. And that's
We're
okay. That's your prerogative.
We just got a notification that Tim Seeley started following us on Twitter. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
So, speaking of books that felt like a little bit of a disappointment, did you get a chance to read Blink #2?
I bought it,
but you didn't read it.
I didn't read it.
So Blink was a book that came out last month, published by Oni Press, and it's done by Christopher Sabella, who I fucking adore. Christopher Sabella. How they're not doing more in comics, I will never have any idea.
Underrated. 100%
super underrated. Has done some of my favorite books like Heartstopper and Crowded, and they're doing this book with Hayden Sherman, who's doing a lot of shit right now. They're doing their own series, Above Snakes, at Image Comics. They're doing Dark Spaces Wildfire with Scott Snyder over at Dark Horse, or I'm sorry, over at IDW. But Blink basically, the first issue thrust us headfirst into this like world where there's an underground society where the people have been trapped, and this young girl escapes and basically lives her life normal, but, you know, still has PTSD from what's going on and was kind of questioning if it even existed because she escaped at such a young age. And
But it's still like obsessed with trying to find out.
this is going to be this is going to sound weird, but especially with issue 2, part of me compared it to the movie Martyrs, which I do not condone anybody watching Martyrs. I have never watched Martyrs. I have simply watched other people watch Martyrs, and even then I've thrown up. Martyrs is just one of those horror movies that's disturbing for its own good, or too disturbing for its own good. But I get those. You're gonna get fucked up. Congratulations.
Already there.
So it gives me vibes of that because we're now back in that place that we thought didn't exist in the first place, and we're learning about it. But then we're also being thrown like these weird, grotesque monsters, and there's this big chase. And I feel like it's kind of losing itself because there's parts where it starts to kind of reveal and show us that underground society, how the people got there, what they were doing while they were there. And that's what I'm interested in most, I think, because I'm more interested in that cult mentality and, you know, how the people survived, how they adapted, eventually what happened to them. And I think we're getting to that point. But whereas issue 1, it felt like it was way too fast and I needed it to pump the brakes. Issue 2 was way too slow and I needed it to put the gas on the pedal.
Wow. It's funny that you say that because I feel like just from opening the book, it felt like there was a lot going on immediately. So you say issue 2 is way too slow.
There's even though there's a chase, it's boring. You know what I mean? Like, it's just being chased for the sake of being chased. Maybe I read it at a bad time. Maybe I don't like it as much because it gets very, very dense and very, very wordy in certain aspects. Yeah. But I'm going to at least check out issue 3 because the way that issue 2 ends, it does leave me with wanting to know more. You know, I am still very curious. I feel like a book like this has a lot of potential. It's a shame that it's under a shitty publisher like Oni. Because I feel like a lot more people should be talking about this book. But we'll see. So that was Blink number 2. Blink number 3, I have my fingers crossed that it's going to do better.
Yeah, I'm going to try to catch up on issue 2 so I can get into issue 3 for sure.
But since we're on like the Hayden Sherman portion of the show, because Hayden Sherman had 3 books come out within the span of 3 weeks that we'll talk about. Did you get a chance to read Dark Spaces Wildfire number 3?
I did not.
Oh my god! Did you read any comics this week?
I did. I promise you. But I didn't read issue. I picked up issue 2 late and didn't catch up with it in time for issue 3, so I didn't read issue 3.
No,
I'm sorry.
Dark Spaces Wildfire continues to be an extremely solid book, which is shocking as hell because it's from Scott Snyder, who is a writer that I know we're both not huge fans of. He's critically acclaimed, has a cult following. You know, did the Batman, did Witches, did other books that Noctera, which is another book people are hugely passionate about. I could never get into those. But Dark Spaces Wildfire gives off this like weird fucking Paper Girls vibe without being even closely related to Paper Girls. I feel like it's the artwork and the coloring that remind me of Paper Girls.
Like, this is issue 2. But just to give you an idea of just how like beautifully vibrant, gorgeous and dynamic Hayden Sherman's artwork is, like, I can tell you, even though I haven't read this book, I can tell you that like Hayden Sherman deserves a better writer.
I don't know, because the writing in this book is not terrible. I really actually enjoy the writing here, and it's almost like one of those cases where it's like, does Scott Snyder have a ghostwriter working on this one? Like, is that actually
Colin Bunn is actually writing?
Like, please blink twice if it's you. Blink 3 times if it's your ghostwriter. But the whole premise of like a female chain gang working in the middle of this giant forest fire, deciding to go on this heist in the middle of the woods to steal from a capitalist billionaire, only to find out that things aren't quite what they seem, because I won't spoil it, but issue 2 revealed some things that was like, oh shit. And then issue 3 kind of intensifies it and kicks it up to another notch. And a book like this is really interesting because the first issue starts off in medias res, which for those of you that might not know means that we tell the end of the story before the beginning.
I love that That term. Say that one more time. Say it slowly.
It's immedius rex. That's when we see the ending of the story before, or we see the ending of the story at the beginning of our story. And I love things like that because you already know what's going to happen. And spoiler alert, the first couple pages reveal that all 4 of these characters are going to die. So it's like you're trying not to form relationships with these characters, but at the same time, they're all so likable and they have exuberant personalities to the point where you can't help but love them and fear for their safety. And so I'm like hoping that they don't die. Like maybe it's a fake out.
It feels like a David and Goliath story, especially from the first issue, because it's like this chain gang of like prisoners who are trying to pay off their prison sentence by doing firefighting. So it feels like, I mean, they are the good guys, even though they're like, let's go commit crime.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like this one. It's the book that has really taken me by surprise. It's solid. I really like this one. But there was one more Hayden Sherman book that came out. We'll see if you actually read this one. Above Snakes #3 by Image Comics, which you did not read. Okay, that's fine. It was probably one of my favorite books that I read this week. That's fine. Just break my heart.
I know that I'm like 99% sure that I bought it, so it was definitely one of those ones where you bought it, I didn't read it, you loved it, of course.
Above Snakes is such a weird book. I should not like this fucking book because
maybe I didn't buy it.
It's like this weird spaghetti western that fucking feels like Cowboy Bebop, and it's like weird anthology style setting while at the same time following a linear story of revenge and betrayal. And so the premise of the 3rd issue is, you know, we're introduced to our main character, who I'm just going to call Spike Spiegel because I don't actually remember their name. It's Spike Spiegel, y'all.
It is.
It even looks like fucking Spike Spiegel. It's fine. But the character was given this like otherworldly spiritual fucking buzzard that follows him around and nobody else can see him, but he talks. And he kind of reminds me of the Axe from Barbaric, where he always just has dumb shit to say that makes you laugh. The entire premise of this issue is about getting the buzzard laid. Because we learn that buzzards apparently mate for life. And so Spike Spiegel is like, if I can get this buzzard laid, he'll spend all the time with his lady buzzard and he'll leave me the fuck alone.
Y'all, I need alerts set up for this kind of shit, because that is like my jam.
I would honestly say if you haven't read issue 1 or 2, just
read issue 1.
Just read if you have, but I'm saying if you haven't read issue 1 or 2, just pick up issue 3 because it's literally about getting a spiritual buzzard laid, and some of the dialogue in this book is so fucking funny, and the colors are delightful, and the artwork is delightful, and y'all, I did not expect this spaghetti western revenge Cowboy Bebop fucking book to be one of my favorite things from Image right now, but I love it.
Okay.
It's great. Read the book.
Sold. I'm sold.
If I hadn't read it this morning, I would have told you earlier.
Okay. Well, one of the other books that, you know what, I'm just like doing from the top of the pile.
She's making it easier on herself instead of me who's jumping around.
No, I feel like I'm also jumping around. Did you I know you read this book. True Cult. Another IDW original.
I don't like this book. I'm gonna be honest. Let me be honest with y'all. I got halfway through this book before I was like, I'm done. I'm not putting up with it anymore.
I feel like the dialogue and the way that like the art and the dialogue in this book are like put together. It reminds me of, oh my goodness, who did 4 Kids Walk Into the Bank? Matt Rosenberg
and Tyler Boss.
I feel like it wants to be that book, and it's not.
Here's the thing. The premise of this book is it is set around fast food workers. Okay, fucking relatable. Even if you haven't worked in a fast food setting, you know somebody who has. If not, you've seen fucking videos on the internet of fast food freakouts and what these employees have to go through. So you have relation in some way. It's about a fast food worker who is tired of his fucking life, who robs his strip mall and steals an artifact from this like demonic cult who now wants revenge. So it's the everyman average Joe stuck in a magical weird cult fucking setting. That's a premise for a fucking interesting book that could be funny as shit. It could be meta as shit. It could have black fucking comedy. It has none of those things. This book is dense for no fucking reason. This particular issue has multiple pages where it is just black with sound effects and you get fucking dialogue for no fucking reason that contributes nothing to the story. Give me the fucking dumb jokes. The best part of this book, at least for what I had read, was the part where the Karen comes into the fucking thing. It's like, I demand to speak to the manager because I got home, I asked for extra ice, there was no ice in my cup. I got home, I asked for extra tartar sauce. There was only an average amount of tartar sauce. And I'm like, this is funny to me because I've seen this fucking happen.
I've been on the other end of
I've been
that.
on the receiving end of this. Like, this is funny to me. I mean, it's not funny that it happens, but in a comic, it's funny. We don't fucking get anything more than that.
I do have to say, I'm in this book, apparently.
You are in this book. It is you.
Sorry.
But I wanted this book to be better. I was so excited for this book.
Yeah, I really like Liana Kangas.
I love Liana Kangas, and I think that she brings something new to the table in terms of comics because she does not draw comics traditionally, and I love that about her. But girl, you gotta get a better writer. I don't know what to tell you because this is the second time that Liana has been stuck with a below average writer. She said destroy. I'm looking straight at you.
I'm not going to go there.
I wanted to like this book. It didn't happen.
I think what needs to happen for me personally is that this book I need to read all at once. I think having read issue 1, kind of knowing what happens, and maybe being able to just like binge read it all instead of issue by issue is going to be the way that I'm going to enjoy this book.
It's just a shame because this is the second IDW original story, you know, that they were pushing when they announced, hey, we're going to stop doing a lot of property-based comics and we're going to start doing more creator-owned stuff. And Dark Spaces Wildfire was the first one to be that mark. And that one, like we just talked about, was really, really strong. This one, which should be our jam, it appeals to us in every sense of the way, doesn't even come close to hitting the mark.
Agreed. Well, speaking of IDW doing properties, one of the ones that they are doing is that they are doing some Star Trek stuff, which, you know, I love Star Trek. But they are doing, if you've watched the show, Lower Decks is basically, it's Star Trek animated, and it features like a group of people who work on the Cerritos and the USS Cerritos, but they're in the lower deck, so they're not like the main bridge workers. It's a really, really, really great show. One of my favorite Star Trek things, and this is the first issue in a series, and it really just, one of the things that I love about Lower Decks is that it takes so many classic Star Trek moments and makes them so much, they deserve to be funny, and it just is. And if you've ever watched the show, you can like hear these characters, and you can definitely hear the characters in this.
It's a good Star Trek book for you.
It is a good Star Trek book. You know that when it comes to my love of Star Trek, I don't love the Star Trek comics very often. This one is one that I do. And I think part of that is because I can hear all the characters from this particular show, and I can like hear their personalities coming through. So really well written. It's done by, is it Ryan? Yeah, Ryan North. Yep. Pick it up. If you like Star Trek, if you like Lower Decks, you should pick it up.
You're speaking to the Star Wars fan.
Yeah. But you know that I don't love Star Wars, but I love a lot of Star Wars comics, which is weird. Okay.
That is weird.
I am barely halfway through my indie pile. What else you got?
Golden Rage #2. We really, really liked this one last month. It's published by Image Comics. It is essentially a Hunger Games, Lord of the Fly situation where older women who are deemed unimperative to fucking society because they can't procreate or because they're queer get thrust upon this island. And we're met with a 30-year-old, and she's kind of our fish out of water identifier because she has hit menopause early. So she is also thrown onto the island, and it's her kind of surviving and understanding the rules and the way the island works. And issue 2 continues to be very fucking solid because, you know, like our main character, the other people who have been living on this island have no idea why she is here because they've never seen somebody of her age. And so it's like this whole, we got to get you to the witch on the other side of the island before the bad people catch you and see why you're actually here. And
so there's like 2, maybe more, but there's like 2 factions of like older ladies that are like this rival gang.
I just really like this book. I think it's got a lot to say about our society, especially in the world that we're living in currently.
The way that it treats older women is just...
I think that this is a really great mainstream book that people could pick up. I think this book would make for a great fucking adaptation. I could easily see like Netflix or Hulu picking it up and having fun with it. And it's just solid. Issue 2 is solid. I don't have anything more to say on it.
It really is. The artwork's beautiful. I love that this one... I can't remember if the first one was narrated by the same character, but like it's narrated by one of the women, and I love her internal dialogue a lot because she's hanging out with everyone as like all of this stuff is going on, and she's like narrating what's going on, but then she like slips back into her own mind and like almost like daydreams. So I really like this. I like this issue a lot. So pick up Golden Rage. It's only on issue 2. You have time to pick up issue 1 and issue 2.
It's really good, really solid. Yeah. It's another book that people aren't talking about enough.
Christy Williams, Lauren Knight, Sophie Dodson, and Becca Carey are the creative team.
Another book that we really, really loved last month that's on its 2nd issue, and again, a book no one is fucking talking about, Survival Street #2. Listen, let me just give you the premise of this book in case you missed this last month. A group of Muppets. Muppet? Yeah, that sounds right. Muppets. They're part of a rebellious rag team group that are basically going against a Republican capitalist society. This book takes no fucking prisoners. It has so much to fucking say and is not afraid to say it. There's a point in this book where a clearly Republican man is talking about, oh, we've armed the children and anybody in grade school can now carry a gun, but we can't stop there. Gun rights begin at contraception. And I'm like, yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, I love this. And you learned something about the book while you were at Rose City that is really fun. Please share that information with us.
So there was a really cool panel about like doing indie comics that kind of became, so that Dark Horse did. And it was, it really became how are writers finding their artists. And the 2 creators were there, James Asmus and Jim Fistanti. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I forget who I went up to and talked to afterwards, but they spoke about how they found the artist for this book. And Abelay Kusanov, I hope I'm pronouncing that, Kusanov, is a Pakistani artist. And it was so cool to hear them like talk about like this artist that they found. And they were basically like kind of trying to feel like, oh, is this person going to be the right person for the book? And they're like, can you draw Muppets? And apparently the artwork that they came back with was really great. And they ended up doing Survival Street. So I just thought that was really cool. I didn't know that. And it just blows me away that I think this is one of their first like comics that they have done that's like a little bit more long form. And you're right. This book is so good. It takes no prisoners. It reminds me of something that like Mark Russell would write. But it definitely has its own voice. So once again, issue 2, if you haven't already picked up issue 1, you 100% should, and you still have time, hopefully, to get issue 2.
It's fun. It's just a lot of fun.
It really, really is. Yeah. I love it. This is probably going to, I
Be
don't
on
know
the
if
top 10 list.
this is definitely, I think so far going to be on like the top 10 list for the year. Um, I have a hard time putting books on there that aren't finished by the end of the year. So we'll see.
I think it will be finished though, because I'm pretty sure it's only about 4 issues long, 4 or 5
Okay.
issues. So it should finish up by the end of the year.
The next issue comes out October 5th. So hopefully that finishes up because I really, really, really want to put that book on my top list.
So we're on the topic of Dark Horse. Do I do it? Do I get
Yeah.
violent now? Do I wait?
Y'all, Mars read a book. I didn't read this book.
I read
So
a book. I read a book this morning that physically made me want to explode because it was as bad as it was. And it's a little book called Masquerade. And it is written by Kevin Smith. Kevin, my guy, you gotta fucking chat because not be allowed.
You cut out a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, Kevin, my dude, if you're listening, we got chat.
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith, like if you're out there, you're listening to the podcast. We got to talk, dude, because you can't write fucking comics anymore, and you specifically cannot write fucking women anymore. So let me give you the premise of this book, because the premise of this book is really fucking cool, right? So Masquerade basically is like, there's this TikToker, internet celebrity who is extremely famous. Like, her face is everywhere. Everybody knows who she is. And she basically wants to become a vigilante to kill men that have either wronged her or just are bad in general. And
that sounds like
I'm fucking here for it.
Me, because I feel like not necessarily that I'm like an influencer whatsoever, other than this space, but like, girl, same.
I'm here for it. And so she has to like create this costume that can hide her whole fucking identity. And I'm trying to get the like official solicit for it.
Needs to hide her identity, but her boobs need to be supple and perky and
so
defy gravity.
Here's the official listing for Masquerade by Kevin Smith and the Secret Stash Press. Felicia Dance is hiding in plain sight. The provocative social media star and shock TV sensation has one of the most recognizable faces in the world. So she can't capture and kill the butchers who murdered her little brother and experimented on Felicia like a lab rat when she was a child. Not unless she looks like someone else. The face of justice is reshaped forever in Masquerade. I'm like, cool, revenge story, badass female vigilante. So what if I told you the first fucking page of this book is an ass shot of some girl showing her ass on TikTok, and it's like, oh, I have all these followers because I'm showing my ass. And then the book continues, and basically every female character in this book is fucking degraded. There's another woman, and I don't even know why the fuck she shows up in this book. There's another woman who is having an affair with a black man because he's black.
That's scandalous and not racist at all.
She's having an affair and really likes him because he's rough and not gentle like her husband, who is presumed to be white by name because they don't show him, but I'm assuming he's white.
Bye. I'm done. Bye.
And then she proceeds to give him a blowjob where she gets caught. Not only that, but there's all these fucking lines of like strip clubs and tits and ass and female degradation. And Kevin Smith, my guy, buddy, pal, let's just talk. Okay. Oh, this is the part where I decided to go on a rant. Kevin Smith, at least in my eyes, is a fucking terrible writer. I'm sorry. I'm going to fucking say it. The man is fucking outdated. And I have history with Kevin Smith because he wrote the first 12 or 14 issues of Green Arrow, which is my favorite Green Arrow run of all time, before Judd Winnick came in and around issue 15 and kind of took it from there and created the character where he needed to be. And something about Kevin Smith taking on the character always rubbed me the wrong way, because he created... I've talked about it before that Mia Dearden, who appeared in the Green Arrow series and is one of my favorite fucking characters because of everything she's gone through, because Mia Dearden is a former sex worker who was taken in by Green Arrow and decided she wanted to be a vigilante to protect women, so that way the things that happened to her could never happen to anybody else. Kevin Smith technically created the character. Mia Dearden shows up. Mia Dearden shows up in the first issue of that Green Arrow series and is rescued by Green Arrow. However, Kevin Smith has said multiple times that he had no fucking intention of taking the character anything further from there, and literally just created a fucking minor who was a prostitute and ended up fucking being rescued by Green Arrow, and then made it so that way the two of them had this weird relationship. Like Mia Dearden had a crush on a 40-year-old man, and Oliver Queen had to consistently tell her, no, you're a child. I see you as my child. Please don't look at me like that. Like, I understand you might have some type of Stockholm syndrome going on right now, but he's like, I'm here to get you where you need to be and take it from there.
Why does this feel like something that Joss Whedon would write? I mean, like,
it's literally Joss Whedon. It's the same fucking feeling. So Judd Winnick is the one, when I say Mia Dearden's my favorite character, Judd Winnick's the one I thank, because he's the one that decided to evolve her character, make her become a vigilante, give her the purpose of not only using that vigilante power to protect women, but also decided to kind of take, okay, well, Kevin Smith made you a sex worker. Let's kind of throw some consequences in with that. Let's give this character HIV because it has personal connections with me and my friend Pedro, but it allows me to kind of strengthen the character. And I'm like, okay, cool, we're here for this. Kevin Smith is writing the same shit in 2022 that he fucking wrote in 2001, where he is basically calling women skanks. He's degrading women. He's basically saying that the only thing women are good for is for their bodies and for their sex work. And I'm fucking over it. I know my partner's listening right now. My partner idolizes Kevin Smith. Fuck Kevin Smith, okay? I'm fucking over this dude. I was willing to give this book a chance because I'm like, okay, it's 2022. Kevin Smith hasn't really written anything in a while. Let's see what he does. But it feels like every book he's ever done, Batman the Widening Gyre, which, if I'm not mistaken, has a sexual assault scene in it. Like, Kevin, are you okay? Do you need therapy?
Kevin Smith just started following us on Twitter. No, I'm just kidding. You know, it makes me sad because, like, I know we talk about, like, oh, like, She-Hulk twerking, yes, queen, but then we're like, I feel like there's
a sense of empowerment with that, though.
There's a sense of empowerment, and like you said, there's this, we want women to be sexual and be sexy, but, like, only in a certain way, and once they start going outside of that certain way, then it's like all of a sudden they get punished for it, or it feels like,
I just don't like it. It really gave me, like, Brian Azzarello vibes, where it's like Kevin Smith should not be allowed to write women. Because, like I said, the man's got a fucking history with it. Green Arrow, Batman Widening Gyre. There's also the Spider-Man and Black Cat series, which I haven't read myself, but I know the history behind that book. And I think that book also has cases of sexual assault. And the fact that I think he made Felicia Hardy a sex worker who was sexually assaulted and then became the Black Cat, which anybody who knows the character knows that's not the fucking case. But I think it's a matter of, we're in 2022. Comics are changing. Comics are evolving. The white men need to be held fucking accountable for the shit that they're writing.
This is what happens when you have just pretty faces write comics. He didn't pay his dues.
It's just, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is, because especially thinking that, like, I feel like Kevin Smith, from what I've seen from his, like, social media posts, is like, hey, I had a heart attack and I, like, really reevaluated my life, and having a daughter who, like, has really changed how
that I named after Harley Quinn, because I I would like to fuck Harley Quinn, so I named my daughter that. And now it's just fucking awkward.
And that's awkward. And then, so I don't know. It's like, I would think better of Kevin Smith. I'd be like, okay, maybe your writing has evolved. The way you think about writing these characters has evolved. And that's obviously not true. So.
I mean, if you like Kevin Smith, that's great. That's fine and dandy. Like, enjoy the things that you like, but also consider the age of the way things are written. I'm not saying that, you know, like Clerks and Mallrats and shit like that, like, yeah, it was a fucking period of its time. Was it okay to be said with some of that shit? Probably not. But if you're still writing the same fucking shit in the same way with the same, for lack of a better word, lack of PC in 2022, 20 years later, after you've quote unquote reevaluated your life, do you need to hold that creator accountable?
And I think it's tough because it's like, how do you hold a creator like that accountable? Like, obviously,
it's Kevin Smith. He's one of the biggest names in comic culture and
so
geek culture.
I don't, and that's the thing, is that it's like things like this. Is it mild comparatively? For sure. Am I going to cancel, quote unquote?
I just want to have a conversation.
I'm not, but I'm going to think really hard about buying anything
like
that
Kevin
Smith does.
Kevin, you know, we're both on the East Coast. Like, let's go grab a beer. Let's have some conversations. You know, get me back the footage from my unaired Comic Book Men show, because I just want to see what a goofy gal I was 10 years ago.
My goodness.
But like, let's just chat. Casually. I want to know why it'll be nothing casual. Like, I just want to know what made this appropriate. What made you write on my first page, panel 1, girl in bikini shows her ass on TikTok, and we repeat that panel 6 times? Let me see that script. Let me see that script you're working with.
Listen, I'm okay with girls showing their ass on TikTok. It's why I have the TikTok algorithm that I do. It's basically socialist memes, femcat boys, comic books. It's a great algorithm when you're on it. But I think when you show those things as a negative, or you show them as like, I don't know, this girl is going to get punished because of this, or this is the evils of the world.
I'm sending you, because it is on the Dark Horse page.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's on the Dark Horse page as part of their like previews where they show the first 3 pages, you can see the first page of this comic and how.
Oh, I just got a message. Okay, let's take a look.
It's not fun.
I mean, I think it's fun, but it's because you get to see booty.
Yes, but I think you think it's fun for a totally different reason.
I totally do. But
so that's my violence for the week. What other books did you read? Did you read anything that made you violent?
Let me see. I've got a couple other books. I'm going to go through some of these because I think that one was the previous week. Okay, sorry. Just going through some of these. There's a book that I read the first issue. I really, really loved. The second issue was also really great. Vanity by Black Caravan, which is a Scout imprint. I really liked this. It basically, like, I think from what I remember from the first, it like flashes back to like Victorian, or not Victorian, Shakespearean. It's like Vlad the Impaler. Anyways, this book gets really, really sexy really quick. There's some there's lots of, I don't know, fun scenes. But at the same time, it's like, straight people, are you okay? Because it's like this relationship. Anyways, I really liked Vanity. I thought it was really fun.
And that's a Scout book. And it's like, how do we already have issue 2 of Vanity? But I'm still waiting on issue 2 of King's Vengeance, which came out almost a year ago.
I could have sworn King's Vengeance did already come out. I would say, I think if you are digging House of the Dragon, you would like Vanity. At least issue 2. In a completely different but similar way.
Got you. Say no more.
Black Caravan also did this book, which I like. It was Blade in the Dark, about this samurai fighting like supernatural demons. It was pretty good. It's kind of a basic book. It's just done in black and white, and it looks like it could have totally just been like a zine put together. So I like that it's given a little bit of like premium status. But anyways, I really liked it. I read this and thought of our friend Bullseye Bob from Everything Comics. So Travis Bueller, if you're watching, you should tell Bob that he should be reading this book. It's pretty nifty. Did you read the this is Aftershock? Did you read the 06 Protocol?
I did not. I missed it. That was one of those. Oh, I missed it.
Okay. It was pretty good. Let me see if I can find. It basically is about. It uses that trope where it's like you're a secret family and you have been trained secretly without your knowledge to do this thing. So this woman and her daughter, like her husband was someone in the military. They secretly trained her through him to do this thing, and then she's like a sleeper agent that gets activated. I thought it was really fun. It's written, I think this is Lee Turner. I think it's one of her first comics, and I thought it was pretty good. Let's see here. I also read Sacrament, issue 2, Peter Milligan, basically about doing exorcisms in space. They make the joke that like in space no one can hear you scream, I think, at one point in this, which I'm like but this one was really good. It's weird. It's cosmic. Did you read any other books? Because I'm just like flying through.
I read lots of books.
Okay.
What else did I read? There's Something Wrong with Patrick Todd, number 3 from Aftershock Comics.
I've been loving that book, and I keep not.
I really do enjoy this book. It's a kid with psychic powers who can basically make anybody do what he wants. So he's essentially taking bad, awful people that have either committed crimes or are pedophiles or just anybody that's degenerate and making them rob banks, and him getting the money to help his sick mother. But now somebody's after him and knows more about where his powers came from. And it's just a really great book. I feel like if you like books like We Can Never Go Home from Matthew Rosenberg, which is one of my favorite books of all time, this book is right up your alley. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
And that was issue 3.
Yes. It's nice, simple, to the point.
And it's published by Aftershock.
Aftershock. Okay. So I really enjoy it. A book that I didn't enjoy. For some reason, I decided to give it another chance. And I read Love Everlasting number 2 from Tom King by Aftershock Comics, or not Aftershock, Image Comics. And why? Why did I do this to myself? So what if I told you issue 2 got worse? So the premise of Love Everlasting is supposed to be this like lovers incarnate each other again and again. The problem we had with the first issue was it was too white and too straight for being a book about lovers who are incarnated over and over. And
it's fucking Tom King, who cannot write a linear story to save their life.
So what if I told you issue 2 was linear and had a start to finish? But what if I also told you it was the idea, or the premise was these two people that were grown up together like brother and sister and fell in love, but one was the maid and the other was the lord. So you've got that weird fucking it's not creepy, weird outlier there. And then JK, she's actually against him and she kills him. And it started getting a little interesting at the end. But like, here's the thing. I know I want more romance comics. Like, I feel like I'm always like, we need more romance in comics. You know, the 50s and 60s were populated with all of those really cheesy vintage romance comics. And I'm like, yo, we need to do that. Like, give me like sultry, you know, those paperbacks that you find at the dime store where it's the same plot, but it's just different settings and places.
Yes.
Give me that in comics.
What is it? like where it's like these oh my goodness, I was just talking about it a couple weeks ago. But like those like Marvel versus Capcom where you choose your fighters, choose your like back scene, your background scene, and just like insert things in.
Yeah.
Like, but smut. Give me all this smut.
Give me that. Like romance in comics could be a lot of fun and could
romance.
get
I want smut.
very well. Here's romance is code word for smut. Okay.
Okay. Housewives.
I listen. It could be fun.
else.
It could be really cool. Tom King ain't fucking doing it. Listen, I like when Tom King writes romance. That was one of my favorite things about him writing the Batman run was it was romantic at a lot of fucking points. This ain't it. This is too white, too straight, too boring. I'm not giving it any more chances. Sorry. I gave you 2. I'm done.
Sorry, Tom King.
We got to cut you loose, pal. Be free.
Well, other books that I read this week. I'm going to save one of my favorites for last. But I've got Twig issue number 5. It ended. It was so adorable. And I love the artwork. This little guy, he's so cute. Look at him. He's just so cute.
I can't get into Twig. I don't know why.
Think he's neat. I love it.
I can't get into it.
It was weird for sure. And there was a lot of moments that it's like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Wait, because there's like time jumps and there's time skips a little bit. But I liked it. I just look at how adorable he is. This is my baby Yoda, okay?
Oh, God.
I love him. Please read Twig. I think Twig is going to be one of the, I don't know if it'll make book of the year, but it's definitely going to be a runner-up.
I only have 2 other books, and I have a feeling I know what your last book is that you really liked. And if it is,
I don't think you think.
And if it is, I really didn't like it. But do a Power Bomb number 4. I'm just gonna gloss over it. It continues to be a really fucking solid book. Like, what more do you want me to say? It's this wrestling book that's just really fun, really solid, and I'm having a good time with it.
I should not like wrestling, but I do.
I do now.
Yeah. There's so much heart. It's about Olive Garden, like it's when you're here, your family, and it just good. Okay, it's like Fast and Furious. It's about family. How about that reference?
It's about family.
It's really good. The character development is just really fun. The artwork is so dynamic. Maybe potential. It's weird that like there's several books on here where I'm like potential book of the year. I mean, I already know my book of the year, but top 10 list maybe.
So what else did you read? I want to know what this favorite book was.
Okay, I have 4 more. Did you get a chance to read The Least We Can Do?
Oh, I thought that was going to be your favorite book.
Nope. I liked it.
I didn't.
Okay.
I was bored. I didn't know what was going on.
There is a moment. So the premise of this one is basically it feels like it's a medieval setting, but like the world has gone to shit. And then this girl is like, I'm going to do the thing and I'm going to make it all better. I just think she's cute.
I just think she's neat.
I liked it. Did you finish it?
I did finish it, but I didn't enjoy it. I was like, this is just boring. And it's a shame because I really, really liked the creative team behind this. Because it's the same creative team behind Alice in Leatherland, which I really, really enjoyed. But this was just, it felt like a convoluted fantasy book that was throwing way too much information, but at the same time, not enough information. It's like it wasn't giving me the information I needed.
I do feel like this feels like something I have read before. Like there's lots of elements that do feel a little bit thrown in together, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought the end where she's like in the library and she's like, I'm going to figure out how to solve all the problems. Like I liked that. I thought it was adorable.
I didn't care for it. I wanted to like it more.
Okay. Well, another book by Image that I read, I don't even want to show the cover because it shows something very it shows a needle going through an eyeball, and that just like gets to me. This book reminded me, so Silver Coin is a horror anthology. This one was written by Pornsick Pichashodi and Michael Walsh. But it's like about this like screenwriter who during the pandemic has been writing this play or this movie or this show, and it's supposed to be, I don't know, like his baby, and it's written kind of backwards. So it goes from modern day, and then it shows like how we got here, but you see him and his girlfriend break up basically at the beginning. Straight people, are you okay? The answer is obviously no. But then like this horror screenplay that he's writing intertwines with the relationship, and it goes backwards. So then you see them like throughout their relationship during this pandemic where they're like locked up together. So anyways, it was interesting, but I didn't love it. It wasn't one of my favorites.
It wasn't one of your favorites.
No. Okay. This book ended. I really loved it. Flavor Girls. I
fucking missed out on 2 and 3.
I love this so much. I thought it was so cute. You all know that I ate my waffles and read this. This book is just so good. It's so good. Sailor Moon fighting like weird ass, like if you like stuff like Sailor Moon and Evangelion, and I don't know, it was really cute. Okay, my favorite book this week. I've got one last one.
I gotta know.
It was Space Lady number 3.
Oh, I should have guessed that.
And just so you all know, Behemoth is no longer Behemoth Publishing. They are now Sumerian Publishing. So
what?
Issue 3.
Whoa! When did this happen?
Like maybe it was announced like maybe a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago. But they are no longer. This one is so Space Lady. She's this like intergalactic. I don't know. She's going through. She's kicking butts in space, and she's like a space officer, and then she ends up getting caught because she's committing crimes, so she has to like answer to them, and she's assigned an officer who's supposed to be what would be her what do they call it when you have to like, is it
a parole officer?
Parole officer. So she's basically assigned to like a parole officer, and spoiler alert, they die, and then she's assigned another one, and then they die, and then she goes through like 10 of them, like each of them dies. It's just really cute. Finally, she gets one. They hit it off, and they're having a good time. And oh my goodness, there's this really funny moment where her original space officer is like, "So, Miss Lady," and she's like, "Please, Lady was my mother's name. Call me Space." And I love this stupid dialogue. It's silly and it's fun, and I love this. Once again, contender for Book of the Year.
That's one. I hope they put that. I hope they do a $9.90 trade, $9.99 trade for that, because I think that would be really, really good.
It was really good. So, anyways, that was my favorite book of the week.
Book of the week.
Okay, that's all I've got for.
That's all indie.
It only took us 2 hours.
2 hours. Oh my god.
Really quick, Bob. Since you're here, I called for you earlier because there's a book that I think you need to read called, where is it at? Blade in the Dark.
Blade in the Dark.
It's a samurai guy fighting demons and stuff. I think you'd really like it. Okay.
So, we have DC and we have Marvel. What do you want to talk about first?
Oh, geez. Chat. Do you want us to go DC or do you want us to go Marvel? So you know how I showed that big ass stack of indie comics that I had for DC and Marvel, or for indie? This is my DC and Marvel, folks. So
okay, I don't have nearly as many. So what happened?
I read a lot of books. Let's go DC first.
You want to go DC first? All right, so let's talk about the book that literally broke my heart first.
Ooh.
That was fucking the Wonder Girl Annual. First of all, this is a pet peeve that I have, is when comics, and I'm looking specifically at the big two because the big two are the only ones that do annuals, but they give they give characters annuals who don't have an ongoing series. So Marvel did it with She-Hulk. DC Comics is doing it with Wonder Girl. I don't like that. It bothers me. So, how did this fare? Not very fucking well. So the kicker to this is we finally got the Jerry the Pegasus origin story that I feel like we've been championing for since the introduction of Jerry.
Like literally we see Jerry, and just so you know, Jerry is the horse. We meet the horse in whenever we got Future State Wonder Girl, and it was like those were the best moments. I needed more Jerry.
And we didn't get Jerry. It just wasn't fun. It was very boring. It was like, oh, Jerry was playing, but he was playing too rough, so somebody got hurt, so he got exiled. And I'm like, all right, no, but thank you for trying. And then the rest of the story was just a convoluted mess. It felt like we were going back and forth between two different stories. You had alternating artists. And it's a shame because Sweeney Boo was one of the artists on this, and I absolutely adore Sweeney Boo's artwork. And I wanted more from this. It feels like with Wonder Girl, there is this running theme, especially ever since it was canceled. Wonder Girl, and by extension Yara Flor, continues to be a mess. And I think the problem is there's a lot of ideas for the character, but there's no room for growth. So I feel like when Joelle Jones, because at this point it feels like Joelle Jones is the only person who's allowed to touch the character, which is another problem I have. Like, let other people fucking interact with this character. But it feels like when Joelle Jones is given the opportunity to write and publish a Wonder Girl comic, she has to throw everything at the kitchen sink because she doesn't know when she's going to get another chance. Which I get it.
Yeah.
That's the point of this song.
Like, here are all the things that I want to do with this character. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to.
So I got to do it now.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame because a character like Yara Flor is so fucking cool.
Deserves to be fleshed
so
out.
Fucking amazing. Deserves to be fleshed out. And she doesn't ever get the chance. And I don't know. I'll never stop loving her. She is the light of my life, fire of my loins. I would marry her at the drop of a hat, should she ask. But this wasn't it.
It's so sad. I was rooting for you.
I was rooting for you.
Well, I know that you probably did. Did you? I don't know. Jurassic League, issue 5 of 6.
It's just fun. I like my Dinosaur Jurassic Park book, my Dinosaur Justice League book. It's just Todd McFarlane. Fucking please make Jurassic League toys. I know you don't like making toys of women, but make toys of dinosaurs, and maybe we can come to an agreement and truce.
Yeah. So basically, in this issue, Darksidosaurus. I don't know what they go by on here, but it's going to go to Themyscira, Jurassic Sierra, whatever they're calling it, Dinosaur Themyscira. It's so good, y'all.
I need more. I could take 1,000 issues of this.
Yeah. So the next issue, this was the penultimate issue in the series. The next one's the last one. Once again, it's so, oh my God, I can't believe I've said this like 10 times, but possible one of the top 10 books of the year.
It's so good. It's a lot of fun.
You said you did not read Superman, Son of Kal-El?
How the fuck did I miss this book? I'm going to have to read this as soon as I'm done stream because it's one of my favorite books. And 3 weeks of comics, you're making your lists and things slip through the cracks and it makes me sad because I heard this one was good.
It was really good. The ending is just, it's so, I won't like spoil anything. Sorry. But there is a moment where like Superman he's got this like beam coming towards him and like, he's like, I don't know what's happening. And it sounds like he's becoming a lot more powerful because of it. So I'm really curious to see what happens next. Anyways, it was a good issue.
DC was putting out some fire these past couple weeks. Like, this was my good DC week. So we got Poison Ivy #4, continues to be solid as fuck. This issue in particular was gay as fuck.
It was. We
got to see her boink.
I feel like we haven't even gotten to see. So, spoiler alert: Poison Ivy basically at the beginning of this series breaks up with Harley Quinn, goes on this murderous road trip,
murderous rampage road trip,
and she's been like going to all of these places. In this issue, she meets another lady working at like an Amazon factory.
They're working at Amazon,
basically Amazon.
Fair to say.
And she does something that and like kill. She like kills the boss basically, or like. Anyways, she's on a murderous rampage, and she kills the boss, impresses a young lady who also works there, and that young lady is basically like, take me home right now, Pamela, and just fucking rail me. And like immediately she was like, I need to go home and get railed by you. So that happens.
Which, same.
Yeah, same. Pamela Isley, please rail me. But I don't even think we've seen Harley and Ivy do the do, and we see this couple do the do.
I don't know, because I'm pretty sure it's happened in one of the spinoff titles, especially with the animated series spinoffs. I'm pretty sure it's probably happened at some point. We're just not focused on those books. But this book kind of broke my heart because this whole series has been Pamela reflecting on her feelings about Harley, how Harley's the only one in the world for her, but that she had to leave to get this done. And there's a point during the boinking where she sees Harley sitting in a corner, and obviously it's a figment of her imagination, but the way that Marcio Takara depicts Harley is both so sad and so happy that it breaks your heart. Like the fact that he's able to pull off this duality of emotions, and these are two emotions that are completely fucking different. The fact that he can pull this off in a still image is bonkers. Book of the year.
Like, you, not to spoil, and like, I don't know, I'm gonna show, like, it's kind of graphic, not really, but like you basically see shadows on the wall of Poison Ivy having sex with this other woman, and like Ivy in her imagination is there and is just like so cute and so adorable.
It's great.
It's beautiful, but it's also like a little bit heartbreaking. Also, this Jenny Frison cover.
Jenny Frison is great.
Yeah.
It's so
okay.
Good. The second issue of Champion of Shazam came out, and this book makes me so mad because it's so good. But we're already halfway through the series because it's only a 4-issue mini.
Yeah.
And if you had told me, if you looked me in the face and was like, Mars, not only will you read a Shazam book, but it's going to be one of your favorite recent publishings from DC Comics, I'd call you insane. I'm not a big fan of the Shazam family. I liked the movie, but it's one of those movies where you see it once, you enjoy it, but you don't ever watch it again. The characters never really did anything for me. And in this book, we follow Mary Marvel as she's going to college. And something has happened in DC Comics that they reference where the entire Shazam family has lost their powers. So Mary takes it as an opportunity to attend college and be normal. However, something happens where she gets her powers back, but nobody else in the family does. And now, not only is she kind of the head of the household because their parents are missing, but she also feels the resentment from her brothers and sisters that, okay, we all lost our powers, but yet you got yours back. Why? There's also a talking bunny that is very cute and very funny, and I would like to read an entire issue narrated by the bunny.
That'll be in the the new Champion of Shazam annual.
Probably.
But you're right.
I really like this. It's fun. It's easygoing. The artwork by Doc Shaner is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
I feel like I don't necessarily want to compare the two characters because they are very different. But if you like Supergirl, and even if you if you liked Supergirl, what was it, like Woman of Tomorrow that Tom King did with Bilquis Evely this last year, you would really like this as well.
I agree.
Okay. We talked about it a little bit already, but Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms. It's like a one shot.
It's one shot. It's an oversized one shot that has 3 individual stories in it. The first one is by Tom Taylor and Caspar Wingard, who did Homesick Pilots. And listen, put Caspar Wingard on every fucking book because his artwork is divine. I really like the first story because it's basically the Arkham Asylum orphanage, which I thought was really fucking cute. You've got Harvey Dent and Oswald Cobblepot and Killer Croc and like all these other characters, and then just a random fucking Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah,
you know, hanging out with these Arkham fucking villains as children. And Jimmy Olsen gets adopted by Perry White of all people, and I just love these, like, I've talked about Dark Knights of Steel and how much I love the whole Game of Thrones universe and seeing where characters will be placed, what they'll be doing in this universe, how they'll interact. And it's like little shit like this that I'm like, that's really fucking cute. So he gets adopted and then he forms a fast friendship with Superman, you know, per what we're used to in the comics. And then he gets kidnapped. He gets kidnapped with a bunch of other children. And it turns out that it's Kirk Langstrom, who is also known as Man-Bat, kidnapping a bunch of the children to essentially rescue them because they're being experimented on. And it's just really cute. And this is the one story out of the 3 that we get that is kind of open-ended. And we are shown that it's going to play a larger part in what's to come. And I just really enjoyed that. The second and third stories, personally, I didn't think they were as strong. So the second story is kind of like an origin story for the Robins, where Bruce Wayne is out with Clark Kent and Harley Quinn. And there's a cute little joke that he's unrecognizable because he's wearing glasses. And I love stupid shit like this.
I love little references. Like,
I love little shit like that. But it's basically like Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne and Jason Todd and all of those little scoundrels, you know, robbing Bruce Wayne, and then that whole, well, you're going to work for me instead sort of deal. And I'm like, did I need this? No. Was it cute? Okay. The last story was a little weird, and I think it's because I wanted more from it. I feel like it needed to be its own issue.
Yeah.
So essentially, you know, in Dark Knights of Steel, the Elves, which is Superman's family, are the rulers of the kingdom. However, it's been alluded that they displaced the Wayne family. So at this point, Bruce Wayne, and we've since learned that Bruce Wayne is a true son of Jor-El, but Bruce Wayne is basically like the Greyjoy. What the fuck's his name? What's his name? From fucking Game of Thrones.
Balon Greyjoy?
No, his son. Why am I blanking right now? I'm at that point in my Game of Thrones rewatch.
I keep on wanting to call him Reek.
And that's what I want to call him, because I'm at my point in my Game of Thrones rewatch where he's just Reek. Fuck. And he's not Tyrion. He's not... Fuck it. We all know who we're talking about. Yeah. Anyway, it's that whole situation where you're taken in by the family, and you're not a hostage, but you're not a son either.
You don't feel like a true part of the family.
You don't feel like a true part of the family. And so Bane has a group. And this is the part of the book I do like. Bane is teamed up with the Secret Six. Listen, this is the first time we've seen the Secret Six in 10 years. Okay? I take what I can get. Okay?
Gail Simone is foaming at the mouth.
Gail Simone's foaming at the mouth. Okay? We get Scandal Savage. We get fucking Bane. We get somebody who's alluded to be Catman. And it's cool. But Bane basically is like, hey, we support the Wayne family, and we're here to put you on your rightful throne, essentially. And Bruce Wayne kind of is like, all right, teach me your ways, teach me how to fight, teach me how to take my throne back. And it's revealed at the end that, you know, the two of them are going to essentially kill the elves together. But then at last minute, Bruce Wayne turns on the family or I'm sorry, Bruce Wayne turns on Bane and is like, no, these are my family. I used you to learn your style of fighting, and Bane is then locked away. And like I said, I like the concept of this. I like the idea of the inner conflict of this kingdom with the usurper and wanting to put Bruce Wayne on the throne and knowing that there are supporters out there for the secondary kingdom. But I feel like being the third part of a 3-part anthology oversized story, there just wasn't enough pages to really sell this through. If it had been its own full one shot, maybe we could have seen more, even if it was a mini series, because I've been saying with Dark Knights of Steel that Dark Knights of Steel needs to have multiple spinoffs. There's so much about this world that could be explored. And this was kind of a sneak peek of what we could have. It was still decent. I feel like if you've been enjoying the book, that you should definitely pick up Tales from the Kingdom, especially because Dark Knights of Steel is currently on hiatus. It's a nice little fucking treat for those of us that are waiting for it. Jen has left, which is scary because I don't have any. Oh, there you are. I was gonna say I don't have any more DC comics to talk about, so you got to take it from here, pal.
Oh, I think I just had.
The only thing I have is Marvel.
Okay, I think that was it for DC.
Was that it for DC?
Yeah. I think that there was like maybe one, but it doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it.
That's all we had.
I'm very, very content to go to Marvel now.
Okay, let's talk about Marvel because there was a lot of stuff from Marvel.
There actually was. So let's see here. I feel like, so one of the books that I want to talk about really quick, because there's a couple of them. Over the last couple weeks, we did Miss Marvel and Venom.
I hated it. This one didn't work. So it's been a really weird story because she's teaming up with people she probably shouldn't team up with. The first one was her and Wolverine. Second one was her and Moon Knight. Third one is her and Venom. Her and Venom had zero fucking chemistry.
And I think part of me thinks that is kind of the point. But
I didn't care for it.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. And I know we've said this every time that we talk about a new issue, but the fact that this book was 3 separate issues being listed as a number 1 rather than 1, 2, 3 in say a mini series is fucking frustrating because this is one of those books you have to read the previous issues to know what's going on because at the end of Ms. Marvel and Venom, Wolverine and Moon Knight show up and it's kind of like the gang's all here and they're all fighting together. And if you had just picked up this one, maybe because you're a fan of Venom, maybe you're a Venom loyalist where you pick up everything that man is in. If you had read this book but hadn't read 1 and 2, you would be so fucking confused.
And that's the same thing with X-Men and Moon Girl. Like, it's
like, is Marvel afraid to just say, hey, here's a miniseries? Like, is it that they don't trust these characters to carry a miniseries and instead are banking on that genre of fans that will buy every new number 1?
I think that's the case. People who are like, I'm just going to buy the number 1 and just not even think about it. But I feel like I wanted to like this series, but I'm like, wait, did I get one? I think I missed one. And honestly, like I kept getting the two a little bit confused. Like I kept getting the Miss Marvel and the Moon Girl series confused. Why didn't you just make it all the same? I don't know. I really wanted to like these, but my little baby brain couldn't.
I didn't enjoy them.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood, number 4. I love the fact that these books allow for non-conventional storytelling and non-conventional art. We've seen it happen with previous characters like Elektra, to which I posed the question, what character do we want to see next get the Black, White, and maybe not Black, White, and Blood, but that whole anthology with a color palette and maybe just non-conventional storytelling. But with Black, White, or Moon Knight... Well, okay. Congrats.
Black, White, Scarlet.
Congrats. All right, there it is. Marvel, there's your pitch. Black, White, and Scarlet. Speaking of Scarlet Witch, we are getting a new series for Scarlet Witch in December, written by Steve Orlando and Sarah Pichelli, and you damn well know I already got every cover pre-ordered. It's fine. But Moon Knight, in particular continues the long running theme of it's got one really good story and two that are just average.
Yeah.
But that first story, I really liked these anthology series for him specifically are playing into the mental health of it and are focusing on his split personalities and how they interact with one another. And this first story proves no different. It's basically him wandering through like a mental abyss where he knows he has to keep going. And he's like, the game is simple about me trying to survive, but I never said it was going to be easy. And it's this whole, it's kind of like a metaphor for mental health and people with poor mental health, where it's like, you got to keep fighting, but it's not easy, but you have to do it because it's the only way to survive. And, there's times where, like Wolverine showed up and it was like a mental figment of his imagination where like Wolverine and Captain America showed up and, he thought they were there to help him, but then they turn on him. So he has to fight against them. And I feel like it's, again, a metaphor for people with mental health issues where it's like you have those people in your life that you want to be there to help you and they may be trying to help you, but in your mind with, a broken psyche or maybe not, that sounds cruel, but like with not the best mental health, you think that those people are working against you when they're actually trying to help you. And I don't know. I really like this one in particular. I thought it was really great. It spoke to me on a personal level.
I feel like, yes, every single issue that like you have mentioned, it's like there has been one, maybe two standout stories, but like, it's hit or miss. Do you feel like this is something where you'd pick up the trade?
I think so.
And reread it like all over again?
I think so because, like I said, I'm not going into an anthology series expecting every goddamn story to hit.
Yeah.
I feel like when it's month to month and you're like, oh, 1 out of the 3 is bad, like it kind of disappoints you in a little way. But I feel like once it's all together and I'm like, all right, these are the stories I like, these are the stories I don't like, it'll be worth it for those that I connect with and that those I like as a Moon Knight fan.
Especially because the Moon Knight ongoing series originally did it for me, has not been continuing to do it for me.
It feels like the new Moon Knight series by Jed MacKay has regressed to your average Moon Knight story, where it's just your Marvel Batman. He's out on the streets fighting vampires and werewolves, and occasionally has a mental breakdown. Whereas like Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight run was completely about the mental breakdown. And for me, that's what I resonate about with the character. And that's what I enjoy about the character because it makes him more than just the Marvel Batman. And I think the anthology series leans into that, whereas his ongoing leans into just your average superhero book.
Yeah, agreed.
That's my pitch for Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood.
Read it.
Read it.
Or reap it. I don't know. We got, let me see. 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 books here. A lot of them are number 1s, number 2s.
I don't think I have that many, but okay.
Okay. Let me do one that I don't, you might have got this one. Did we talk about Alien yet?
No. Listen, I tried with the last Alien. I'm not giving it a second chance.
I think you would like this one.
Don't
just
say that.
Because I think it's more fun.
Don't say that. Don't give me hope.
I can't even remember particularly like why, but I think that you would like this one.
Don't say that.
It's not as like dark and gritty, I guess.
I want a good horror alien book, like Marvel.
This is not a horror book. This is not a horror book.
I want a good horror alien book. But since we're talking about Alien, we've got to talk about Predator. Predator number 2. I'm sorry. Why is a Predator book fucking good?
I knew that.
Like, what is this universe we're in right now?
I honestly have no clue what's going on in this universe, but I just like obviously it's like you're getting hunted down, but like she's hunting them down. I don't know.
It's the Predator number 1 gave us this really simple concept where a girl watches her entire family get slaughtered by the Predator, or a Predator because that's their race. Gets slaughtered by a Predator. She wounds that Predator to the point where she can distinctly tell which one murdered her family. And so since being a child, she has been hunting down and training her strengths to find and murder this Predator. And it's like this game of cat and mouse because it's like, who hunts who, you know what I mean?
Who is the real predator here?
Who's the real predator? And it's just really interesting and really engaging. And like, there's minimal interaction with other characters. The really the only characters we get are this main character and the AI of her ship. And I really like the dynamic because the AI of her ship is almost like a maternal figure, because that AI has been with her since childhood and knows the fight that she's in. You know, she might not understand it because she's an AI, but they're still fighting together. And I don't know, I really like this book. I'm going to continue to read it. Predator, if you like Predator, definitely. If you're a fan of Predator shit, definitely pick this up. Even if you're not, if you're a casual fan like me, where it's like, I watched Prey and then I immediately read the Predator book.
Yeah.
Just fucking read it. It's fun.
It's very different. Like, this is not the Hulu movie that came out, but it's still really good. And I think you would like the characters. If you liked that new movie that came out, like, you'll like the tone of this one, even though it's completely different.
Completely different.
Yep. I know you said you didn't like this one. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I actually really like this one, and I feel like the tone of this book is matching the show for me, and that was She-Hulk #6.
I just feel like She-Hulk has been extremely average when I compare it to like the Charles Soule run. Like, the Charles Soule run to me is like a top tier She-Hulk, and this one isn't quite hitting it. It feels very discombobulated in some areas. It might have to deal with the fact that, you know, we went months without a new issue of She-Hulk, and then it felt like we got them back to back.
Yeah.
And it felt like when we had that lapse, it felt like there was a shift in the tone of storytelling, and I can't help but feel like it was maybe to match up with what the show was doing. And if that's the case, fine, but you can feel that inconsistency, and I feel like that's what's bothering me. There's been a lot of stuff with this Jack of Hearts character that I'm just uninvested in. Like, I don't care about his backstory. I don't care about how he's feeling. What I do care about is if and when they boink, which, spoiler alert, they do boink at the end of the issue. So I'm like, I like that point.
But we got monster boinking. It only took us 2.5 hours and we reached the monster boinking.
Is She-Hulk a monster, though? That's kind of mean.
Jack of Hearts is the monster.
Sure. Congrats. Nice save. Yeah. Nice save, pal. But that's the thing, is like, I just feel like I need this book to do more for me.
Okay, that's fair.
I needed to either lean all the way into the serious lawyer bullshit or lean all the way into the comedic moments, and I feel like it splits between the two, because there are some great comedy moments, like the fact that she gets Krakoa on retainer.
Yes.
With her law firm, who specifically stated when she was hired, no soups, no mutants, no nobody, but as soon as money comes into play, oh no, I'm pro soup.
That's exactly where the moment where it felt like the show to me. So that's where I'm like, I like this tone. So I'm not going to lie. I was ready to drop this series. I'm going to keep it now.
You're going to keep it?
Yep. All right. Did you read... I think I know the answer to this one. Did you read All Out Avengers?
No, because I'm going to be honest, I did not realize that Greg Land was still allowed to make comics.
Spoiler alert, like, only one of them is out as queer. I'm waiting for the rest of them to come out.
Who's out as queer?
No, I was trying to make a silly joke because they're not all out.
Damn.
Some of them are still in the closet.
Brain go burr. We're at the 2.25 hour mark. My brain is gone.
I've been waiting like 3 weeks to make that fucking joke.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyways.
Tell it to me again tomorrow when I have energy and time.
Okay. This was an average book to me. I'm not going to lie. I didn't love it. Did I hate it? Do I really have a clue what's going on? Not really. Only some of them are out.
Only some of it is out.
Okay. Did you read Thunderbolts?
I did. I don't know how to feel about it. So Thunderbolts is Hawkeye leading the Thunderbolts. Apparently this takes place after the Devil's Reign.
Mhm.
event where now Wilson Fisk is no longer mayor. I guess Luke Cage is now mayor, which, okay, weird flex, but congrats. And Luke Cage wants to basically reshape the Thunderbolts image. So he has this like multimedia team that has personally selected all of these different characters because of their demographics or whatnot, and because of what they can bring to the team. And then they're like, hey, Hawkeye, lead the team. So like we have Monica Rambeau, we have, I guess, the new Power Man, which I didn't realize there was a second Power Man. We have the Purple Daughter, which didn't know that was a fucking character, but I'm interested.
Yeah.
It also
I
has America Chavez and this other weird white guy Cable looking knockoff that I don't know and I don't remember.
I think like I didn't hate this story, but it definitely felt like I missed something. And for an issue 1, I shouldn't feel that way in an issue 1, but I
So
do.
I have multiple feelings about this because I like the idea of the Thunderbolts being like the Suicide Squad of Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
If you take that away, now Marvel doesn't have a villain team. And I'm not counting something like the Sinister Six. I'm talking like these characters are being forced to work together. They all have different motivations, different personalities. There's going to be some squabble. Like, I want to see how these interactions play out. Now you're trying to reshape the Thunderbolts. So you've already got one strike against you. My second strike is it feels like America Chavez is fucking toned down to the Latina stereotype, and I'm not okay with that. Like at one point, they specifically say that the reason why she's on the team is because she does well with the Latino community. And I'm like, don't know how I feel about that because she does way more than that. Not only that, but she's also currently in the Defenders right now, which, okay, characters being in multiple teams at once, that's not a strange thing for the big two.
Yeah.
But those two books are so fucking completely different. It's hard to put them together, but also completely tear them apart.
It felt like they cuz Jim Zub, right, does this book.
And that's a shame because Jim Zub usually does really fun, quirky shit. And that leads into my biggest gripe is I want to like this book because it feels like in certain areas, this book wants to be a soft sequel or even a spiritual successor to the West Coast Avengers by Kelly Thompson, which is one of my favorite books. And you even have two characters from that team. And I'm like, okay, let's have fun. Let's be quirky. There's even some references to that run, which I'm like, I understand what you're talking about because it's one of the few books I've read start to finish. And I thought when this book was pitched, that's what it was going to be. But the problem is again, tonal shift. This book doesn't know how to either lean all the way into the seriousness, which if it is serious, it's going to be boring, or it doesn't know how to lean all the way into the comedic humor and just be fun and lighthearted.
Agreed. It needs to lean a lot more into
I talked way more about this book than I expected to.
No, thank you. I'm really glad that you did because yes, to all of that. 100%.
I needed more from this book. That being said, I might give issue 2 a chance because first issues can be hard. It can be hard to kind of establish your story, your tone, but like I said, you have me engaged with at least 3 out of your 5 characters. Well, okay,
Yeah.
4 out of your 7 characters, because the only 2 I'm really not connecting with are the Cable knockoff and the new Power Man.
Yeah.
But like the Purple Daughter,
yeah,
like I'm
interested.
Like I never knew that was a character, and the fact that Luke Cage okayed that character on a team that he's running, knowing the history with his wife.
But I think I need a backstory there.
I need something, but let's segue this into a book that kind of goes with that. Let's talk about Variants by Gail Simone and Phil Noto, because I'm gonna be honest, I hated the first couple pages of this issue. And then a moment happened and I was like, fuck, this might be a really, really good book.
This book, the way that it like ends.
It's not even the way that it ends. For me, So, Variants is a Jessica Jones story where she's meeting different versions of herself through the multiverse, and they're all coming together to solve this big grand mystery that we don't even know really what's going on yet. Like, a lot of this book has just been confusing, and I think that's the point, is to make us feel like Jessica, where she just does not know what's going on, and I'm okay with that.
I, as a reader, almost at points feel just as disoriented as Jessica.
But my problem with it is like Jessica Jones. All right, let me preface this because I really love Jessica Jones and she's one of my favorite characters. But Jessica Jones isn't an interesting enough character to have multiple versions of herself that are so completely different and weird that them teaming up, it feels like, you know, its own superhero team.
Yeah.
They're all very similar.
Yeah.
That being said, we get introduced to a third iteration of Jessica Jones who is going by the Jewel persona, which was a short-term lived persona for our mainline Jessica Jones. And we find out that this version of Jessica is the only one that does not know who the Purple Man is yet. And our main Prime Earth, we're going to call her Prime. I think because she's called Prime Jessica in the comic. Yeah. I think that's what they dub her. Prime Jessica hears that and like her heart breaks because she's like, I could give 3 fucking shits less about anybody else that comes through that portal. I'm going to make sure that this one gets home safe and never has to go through what, you know, we went to. And I'm like, if somebody has gone through her own trauma, like if I met a version of myself that had never gone through that trauma, I would feel the same way.
Like, you see there that moment where like she's narrating it and she's like, she's never, and like you kind of realize that, and she just gives her like the biggest hug. That broke me.
Which is crazy because Jessica Jones is not a hugger.
No.
She's not a hugger, dudes.
Or a crier, but
it
all happens here. Yeah. It's good.
But I don't know. It's a weird book. I'm following it all the way through because it's Gail Simone, and Gail Simone hasn't written a main 2 title in such a long time that I'm like a fish thirsty for fucking water. And I'm like, even if it's weird and I don't know if I'm enjoying it half the time, I'm gonna continue to fucking read it.
Yeah. I think that it's excellent, and I like everything from the artwork to all of those moments. I'm really enjoying. What is it? A 6-issue series, 5-issue series?
It's one of those 2.
Okay. So just a few more issues left, but it's continually been.
It's been solid. Solid.
Well, I've only got one more book left.
I also have one more book, and it's the same one as you. Let me just double. No, I have 2 books. I lied.
What's your other book?
Punisher number 6. Punisher number 6, baby.
Okay, so I want to tell you.
How am I still reading a Punisher book?
I've like read up to issue 3, I think. Whatever's on Marvel Unlimited, I've read.
No, Punisher number 6 got insane. I like want to tell you, but like.
Oh no, don't.
Yeah, I can't tell you. But Punisher 6, they drop a fucking bomb in Punisher 6. A big reveal, and it's a question I've had for a long fucking while.
I think I know what that question is.
And it's something I should.
Kids, right?
It's about the children, and it's something I probably should have thought about a while ago. And it's fucking rough.
Okay.
It's a rough ride. Like, I kept telling myself, I'm like, I'm going to stop at issue 5 or issue 6 whenever the first arc ends. But I'm like, I might be fucking in it for a while because I need to know what is going on. If you're a fan of Punisher, if you're not a fan of Punisher, try it. It's a good book.
I'm not a fan of Punisher.
I'm not either.
I know who Punisher is. I could tell you a lot more than probably people who consider themselves fans of the Punisher. But
I know that the Punisher says a cob. A lot of fans don't tell you that part.
Yeah. So I liked the first 2 issues so far. The first 3, whatever I've read. But you convinced me. I'm surprised you are the one that convinced me to read
I'm surprised Punisher. I convinced myself to read Punisher. I was like, oh, it's a new number 1. I'm going to read it. And then I read issue 2, and I read issue 3, and now I'm up to 6.
I don't want to like spoil it for anyone, but basically what ends up happening is that the Punisher ends up teaming up with the Hand because they're going after this, like, what's the group called where they're like the soldiers?
I don't know. It's like Achilles, not Achilles. It's Ares.
Yeah, and so they're going after the group, and then they
Well,
bring back his wife.
damn.
What?
I just found out that this apparently is a 12-issue miniseries, so I am in it for the fucking long
You're
haul.
only halfway through.
Damn.
Anyways, it's good, y'all. You should read it.
Damn.
I've got one book left.
One book left.
We already know what that book is.
You already know what the book is.
This book feels like it's trying, so it's Midnight Suns. It feels like it's trying to be a darker, more adult version of
Pause,
Strange Academy.
real quick. So trying to find this book was a pain in the ass because there's been Midnight Suns iterations before, but it's always spelled S-O-N-S. This one is spelled S-U-N-S. Why? I just need to know. Let me talk to somebody. Why did we change that?
Because Marvel wanted a new number one that was slightly less
That's fine
confusing,
with
but ended
doing
up
a
being
new
more
number one.
confusing.
But like, why change the name? That would be like changing Suicide Squad. I feel like I'm referencing Suicide Squad a lot today, but that's like saying Suicide Squad, but we're going to change the name of Squad to S-K-A-W-D. Not saying that spelling Suns the way it's spelled is stupid, like I just mentioned. It's just confusing. It's unnecessary. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Anyway, continue.
Maybe it's because they're like, well, there's women on the team. Also, Magic gets a really bright yellow outfit, kind of. So it's like she's the shining sun.
So they revealed that outfit change in New Mutants, and I'm not a fan of it.
They revealed that outfit change in Mutants number 28. Sorry.
I was like, I just pulled that. I'm not a fan of that outfit change. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. But this team is really cool. So it's like Blade and Magic and Nico Monroe and Brother Voodoo and
Spirit Rider.
And then for some reason, Wolverine.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the other. Like, why is Wolverine on this Magic team? Somebody explain.
Well, listen here, bub.
Why is Wolverine? I mean, he's cool. Don't like looking at this team. I'm like, this is a badass team. But like, I mean, granted, Blade's not magic, but at least he deals with like vampires and shit.
And Agatha Harkness.
And Agatha Harkness is in this book, and like Scarlet Witch is probably going to show up. Like, you know how we always joke. We're like, we want the magic book.
Yeah,
the magic team up book of Marvel. This is literally that book plus Wolverine.
It is. That's what I was thinking. Because when, like, I remember putting like a list together where I'm like, oh, they should do like 10 of Wands and like do like all these magical characters. They basically like put all of them together. But this was actually a lot of fun. And seriously, I think that this one is maybe underrated. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. And I really, really think that if you've been liking Strange Academy, you would really like Midnight Suns.
This book has Strange Academy vibes. And I think that this might be the reason why I'm not like, oh, this is my favorite book of the week, is I personally feel a little lost in some areas because I haven't read Strange Academy yet. Okay. And I feel like if I did, maybe I'd understand it a little bit more. But like I said, I love the character combination. I think the character combination is sick as shit. And I'm excited to see how these characters interact with each other. So I will definitely be picking up the second issue.
The one thing about some of these team ups, especially with, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like Midnight Suns. But then like there's a couple other characters that come through. That some of the characters obviously have to take be on the back burner. And I feel like Magic does. She's so quirky and she has so much potential for cute moments that she ends up taking a back burner that I wish that she didn't. But
it is only issue 1.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's only so much you can do in the 36 or 32 pages that you're given. So
yeah.
I think it's got room for growth, and I think it's got room to be a really great book, even if maybe the first issue wasn't the strongest thing possible.
Yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the second one.
Yes.
But that's all the. Well, I have one more book that I wanted to
what you got?
talk to you about. So I picked up this one, and it's done by is it Random House graphics, but it's Other Ever Afters.
Ooh.
It is New Queer Fairy Tales. It is so good. It is so adorable.
You
Like
got me.
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I was reading this and I'm like, Mars, you need to get this. So if you don't get it soon, I may end up sending you this copy or just like sending you a new copy because like
As you do when I don't buy books fast enough.
you need this book. You need this book. It's really good. So anyways, that's all. Now that's all the book.
That's 3 weeks worth of comics and 2.5 hours later.
Yeah.
Crazy. Never let us take a 3-week hiatus ever again.
Never again.
Like,
But then,
bonk us on the head.
We'll be here next Sunday and we'll talk about 1 week's worth of books and we'll still go over 2 hours.
That's comics.
That's comics, baby. Well, hopefully we'll be back next Sunday. Anything else you've got going on this week? Anything that you're doing?
No, it's been, I'm prepping. Okay, I lied. We've got about a month till Baltimore Comic-Con, which I am prepping for with merch and trying to get my merch ordered in so I can be wearing my Casually Comics swag. Planning on hanging out with some friends. I don't know. It should be a blast.
It should be a blast. That's very exciting. I think today I'm going to try to hit up the Portland Zine thing that's going on. It's somewhere downtown. I'm not really sure. So I'm going to try to hit that up.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. So everyone, once again, thank you for being here. We love you. We can't wait to talk to you again next week about comics and all the comic books you've read. Mark Millar, I want to give a special shout out to. Thank you for being here. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.